All parties on Malaretska versus Lund. Step forward, please.
48-year-old hotel consultant Judy Malaretska is suing her sister, 41-year-old massage therapist Rosalind Lund, for a car loan. Rosalind says her sister is being cold-hearted.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 280 on the calendar in the matter of Malaretska versus Lund. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Lund, you seem upset. Do you want to second call this case?
No.
You sure?
Yes.
Sure you want to continue?
Yes. I haven't seen my sister in a year.
This is your sister.
Correct.
According to you, several years ago, in what year did you make this loan?
I don't know exactly, about 6 or 7 years ago.
6 or 7?
Yeah, it's an estimate.
When was the loan made?
This December, the car I took the loan from, 4 years. I've only owned the car for 4 years, as of this December.
Okay. So approximately 4 years ago, your sister needed a car. She had no credit. According to you, you agreed to advance her the $6,000 for the car by using your credit in your name. You gave her the $6,000, and your agreement with your sister was that on the first of each month, she would deposit $250, which was the car payment. Is that right?
Yes, at that time, that wasn't the amount, though.
There was no amount at that time.
Just a second. According to your complaint, Rosalind, that's you,
Yes.
agreed to pay $250 a month the first of each month, including interest, and agreed to have the funds deposited directly into my account. That's what you said in your complaint.
That agreement was signed in 1997, but prior to that agreement being signed, she was only obligated to at least pay the monthly minimum interest payment and more if she could.
Did she pay?
She paid the interest from the beginning, as stated.
Mm-hmm.
And then when 1997 rolled around, because I had a note due on the loan, I wanted to accelerate the payments. So that's when I went back to her and said, we need to move this along a lot faster because paying the interest isn't going to get the note paid off.
That's true.
So at that point in time, I conferred with her and asked her how much she thought she could afford to pay on a monthly basis to get this thing moving. And she came up with $250 and thought on the first of the month she could make it.
Okay, did you reduce that to a writing?
Yes.
Do you have that?
Yes.
Can I see it, please?
Your Honor, is there a date on that?
2/23/97.
Okay.
Okay, so this is clear. You agreed in February of '97 to pay back the $250 a month, which represents principal and interest discharged by Citibank for this loan.
This loan she took, she told me, from a mortgage from her home.
What difference does it make?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Doesn't. I mean, if she took it out as a second
true.
mortgage, she was still paying it off, and the $6,000 had to be paid.
When-
And according to you, your sister did, in fact, pay off $3,428 of the loan. So you did make a lot of those payments.
Correct.
Then, according to your complaint, a couple of months ago, she stopped making the payments as per this contract.
She's been gradually not paying late, paying not the full amount, $250. So I was constantly having to call her and ask her about the payments and when she was going to make the deposits, and asking her to let me know when she was going to make the deposits. And she would give me a date and an amount she would deposit, and she would not make the deposits on those dates. So I'd call her again and I'd say, what happened? You haven't made the deposits. We need to get it paid off and work on this. And she'd give me another date, and she would not follow through with that date.
So what happened?
Your Honor, during all this time, I was involved in a relationship. My boyfriend was undergoing cancer at the time. I spent 1 year taking care of him. We've had 2 surgeries, 6 months of chemo, radiation. You know all this. Our father died of cancer. This was a traumatic thing for me to relive again. And knowing the stress factor I was under, because I am a healthcare provider, I work as a massage therapist in a rehabilitative clinic in Glendora, I was his health care provider. I lost a lot of work, a lot of monies. I put my whole personal life on hold to take care of this one particular person. She knew the stress level that I was under. I couldn't keep payments up or go beyond the interest point because I was losing money. Plus I lost savings that I put out to support myself. In the midst of this, she sent me this contract. And I'm like pulling my hair out trying to keep this guy alive, which he did go into remission. And now we're no longer together. I don't think this has anything.
You took care of him and then he left?
Yeah, he just said, hey, you know what, thank you for helping me, see you later, goodbye. So you know what a jerk. During this, I don't think any of this has to do with money between her and I. I haven't seen her in a year. I haven't seen my older sister in a year and 3 months. This family is sick. What going on here today, you have a judgment of the law, the judgment of the land, of love between this family is sick. We all need to be in counseling, but we're so busy trying to fight who's the bigger victim, who's getting this, who's getting that. I've had a horrible last couple of years, and she has known this. She called me on the phone and says, I do not sit around my office and wonder about our sisterly relationship. I sit around and wonder when you're going to make the city back note. A week before we came here, she lied to my mother and my older sister and tried to get my older sister to say that she subpoenaed her to be here to testify against me. She did this. How dare her do this? She's my sister. Where is our family values here? Where are we supposed to be? My phone gets turned off. I tell her I'm under stress. I got rid of this guy. They've cut my hours down at work. Now they're trying to eliminate me. I've lost my car insurance. And all she does is sit around and carry about her interest. This woman has her own company. She's loaded, you know? And that's not the factor. But the point is that she has great attributes that I need. I have attributes that she needs. This is about her husband trying to seduce me years ago, and then ever since then it's been one issue after another. Even her old boyfriend tried to hit on me. No, it's wrong. In the family we call her Hitler. There is something definitely not right here in this family. And what needs to be done is we need to go to family counseling, not sit here and judge Judy and try to get our family issues resolved because she wants her little interest. You know what? If I was in her position, I would just kiss this loan off. If I ever get in a position, I win the lotto tomorrow and I had millions of dollars, I would buy my older sister a car and a home. What are we going to do with this money? Take it to our grave?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If I could afford to pay her, I would pay her.
And what is she supposed to tell Citibank? She's supposed to tell Citibank, I'm sorry, my sister can't afford to pay me?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Trudy Maloretska is suing her sister Rosalind Lund for a car loan.
Let me ask you this question. How do you support yourself now?
Right now, barely. I have my last paycheck stub. It goes on depending on patients. My rent is $500 a month. I'm barely making $700 right now. Then I have private clients on the side, and those are not always consistent. My job is trying to eliminate me. I'm in financial stress.
You still drive this car?
Yes, I do.
What kind of car is it?
It's a 91 Honda Prelude. I take very good care of it.
Do you have insurance on it?
I just recently lost it because I could not keep up the payments, but I can't talk to her.
Just a second. So how are you driving a car without insurance?
Trying to get it back. I don't have any money. I have just enough to survive. I don't talk to her because every time she called me, she would verbally abuse me over and over on the phone. I can't communicate with her.
Let me ask you
I can't even discuss what happened in our family.
Listen to me. When was the last time you made an interest payment on this loan?
I don't know. She's the financial whiz.
No,
She's the one that wants to bury me.
Listen, you're supposed to be responsible.
Probably about 2-3 months ago.
Okay.
She keeps track of money. Okay. That she's great at.
Just a second. The problem is, if you said to me, I can't afford to pay the $250.
I told her.
Shh. Listen, I can't afford to pay the $250 a month. But I know that it's your credit that's at risk if I don't pay at least the interest. So I'm going to keep up the interest. You said to me, I take very good care of the car. If you take very good care of the car, well, that's very nice. You change the oil, you do whatever you have to do to have it serviced, right? But meanwhile, you have a responsibility to pay for it.
It's true.
Now, I don't necessarily disagree with you that it is unfortunate when sisters have to come to court and sue each other. By the way, I see you have that little train. Is that the train that your sister was talking about in her answer that she wants back?
Yeah, she would.
Is that the train
Yes,
she
it
wants
is.
back that belonged to her father? Did you bring it to give it to her?
No, of course not.
Shh. Did you bring it to give it to her?
I was asked to bring it.
Okay.
Is
the
when she tried to get my older sister to testify, because she's looking bad now. She's getting
Can I
exposed.
see this train, please? Sure. According to your answer, your sister has a train, this little toy train that belongs to you that was left to you by your father.
It was my father's train. He played with it as a child. He died in 1966 of cancer at the age of 44. It was passed on to me as a child. I played with it. I gave it to her for safekeeping. And about 3 or 4 years ago at Thanksgiving, I asked her for it back. She goes, no, it doesn't belong to you. It's mine. It's mother. She has got an entire...
Just a second. Just a second. Tell me about the train.
She just wants to control. She wants
Tell me
to
about
hurt
the train.
people and abuse them. That's what she's
Miss
good
Lund.
at. Money hungry.
Okay. I'm not going to deal with this train. Give the train back to her. Miss Lund, let me tell you what I sense. My
Happy
sense
now?
is that you view yourself as a victim.
We're all victims. That's the problem in the family.
You view yourself as a victim. Everybody is against you. The problem is,
No, it's
whenever you lend somebody money,
True.
the person who lends the money always turns out to be the bad guy. That has been my experience. The person who lends money, the family member who lends money and then says, I want it back, is always the bad one. That's why you got to really think twice before you lend money to a sister or a brother. When you lend money to somebody in your family, what you really have to say is, I never expect to get it back.
I like that.
Well, because, well, I want to tell you something, Miss Lund, that doesn't make it right.
That's true. It doesn't
That
make it right.
doesn't make it right. But that seems to be what happened. That has been my experience my whole life. When brothers and sisters and cousins stop talking to each other is because one has been a good person, helped out in a time of need, and when they want their money back, all of a sudden they become an ogre, a money-hungry,
I don't think she's an
controlling
ogre. If
person.
I
She
had
lent you the money.
I'd pay her. If I could afford to pay her, I would pay her.
And what is she supposed to tell Citibank? She's supposed to tell Citibank, I'm sorry, my sister can't afford to pay me?
I don't know. She has lots of money. She's got
That's
platinum
not your
gold.
business. What are you
That's
looking at her
right.
pocketbook for?
Because I'm talking about family values.
No, and I'm
that's
talking
where
about...
we're out of line here.
And I'm talking about being responsible.
right. That's
How old
right.
are you?
It's two different things.
How old are you?
41.
When you're 41 years old, you don't only talk about family values, you talk about being responsible. You just
True.
told me a story about how you cared for a boyfriend, not a husband,
Correct.
a boyfriend. You cared for him, you gave up your job, you gave up money, you gave up a year or two of your life to care for this virtual stranger who turned around and dumped you after he got better.
That's right.
Right? Right?
Jerk.
Here you had a sister who you've had for 41 years. How old are you?
48.
Okay, so you've had this sister for 41 years. And in your time of need, she helped you. Where is your responsibility to make sure that she isn't out any money?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She badmouths me to my mother, my older sister. I mean, this family's sick. And you're right, I'm the only victim. No, she's a victim. The oldest one's a victim. We're all fighting for something that's not real.
Excuse me, the only thing that I've lacked today
Ugh.
is an acting course.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Trudy Maloretska wants her sister, Rosalind Lund, to pay back her car loan. Rosalind says her sister is being vindictive.
What's still owed on the loan is $3,328.72.
That's the principal, and then I've been picking up the interest payments. There's 3 of them that I have noted there
Okay.
that I've been paying on her behalf.
How much? I have the November interest payment
There's a check mark on that sheet. There should be 3 check marks,
for $26.03.
and then 2616 twice,
Okay.
and then the principal.
Okay. Bird, keep it simple. $3,328.72.
But what I
26.16. $26.16. $26.16 again. And 26.03.
$3,407.07.
Okay, now your sister says something that, quite frankly, I think has some merit. It appears to me that you haven't spoken in a long time. I don't know what else has gone on.
She hasn't even
in
been
your
to my
family.
house. I've lived in the same place for 3.5 years. She's never once taken any interest in spending any holidays at my home, coming to see me. She's come down to the area but stayed at finer hotels, like my home's not good enough. She makes accusations about my life when she knows nothing about it. She never interacts with me. She makes judgment calls. She badmouths me to my mother, my older sister. I mean, this family's sick. And you're right, I'm the only victim. No, she's a victim. The oldest one's a victim. She lied. We're all fighting for something that's not real. We don't need to be here. We need to be in counseling.
Excuse
the whole
me.
sick family.
Excuse me. The only thing that I've lacked today is an acting course and how to compete with this. But I think that one thing is very apparent is that I think that because she makes an accusation about me does not make it true. And I get very tired of accusations and things that she knows nothing. And things of which she knows nothing, to make these obtuse statements about me and who I am and what I do.
Let me tell you something.
And the obscene phone
You can make them
calls
about
that,
me.
that are left on my machine are totally unacceptable.
Did you hear what I said?
So your calls
Hey.
aren't acceptable.
Courts have been used by people, or they try to use courts as therapists, as family counselors. Courts can't do that.
That's right.
I mean, I can't, in the brief period of time that I have here, just listen to me before you say anything. Try to keep your head open.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
I can't do anything about finding out what the pathology is in this family and what it's been over the last 4 decades to have brought you two sisters here today in such a state of animus. What I do know is you owe her $3,407.07. And Citibank isn't interested in the fact that you're having hard times and that your boyfriend had cancer and that you took care of him.
This is exactly what she says to me on the phone.
Just be quiet. Citibank's not interested in that.
That's right.
And there were things that you did during the course of these last 3.5 years, and I'm sure during the course of the last couple of months, including spending $26, which are just the interest payments, on something else, whether it was going out to eat, going to a movie, having your hair done, having a facial, having a manicure, having a pedicure, something else, so that you could put together $26 just so that the interest payments would be off her back, and at least then she wouldn't be delinquent. You chose not to do that. You said to me, it's been a while since I've made even the interest payments. So I can understand it why your sister says at this point, I have to do something because I'm going to be out this money. Now you say she's got plenty of money. And we shouldn't have, she's got plenty of money. What's that your business? That's not your business whether she's got plenty of money. You're not her child.
That's right, I'm not.
You're absolutely right. You're not her child. You're not her child.
That's right.
And she could be the kind of person that says, listen, my sister's been going through a bad time. I have more than she does. I'm going to forgive this loan. She chooses not to do that.
That's right. And I should have just went to a bank because that's what I'm dealing with. I'm not even dealing with somebody human.
If you went with a, let me tell you something, madam.
This is not human. This is not family.
I want you to be quiet. If you went to a bank, you wouldn't have your nice car because they would have come and repossessed your car.
I could accept that.
Well, then I suggest that you sell it. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,407. I suggest you sell the car and pay her off.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
You know, this whole family's really sick. We need to bridge it. We need to be in counseling.
I think she's obviously very troubled, and I think she obviously needs to get some kind of help to help herself. And it's way beyond me because I'm not a therapist, and I can't handle that kind of anger and that kind of lashing out at me, and I don't know how to respond to that untruth.
Everybody's a victim in this family. We all abuse each other. I mean, why do they call her Hitler?
I don't know how to respond to somebody's lies and anger and what sounds like manipulation. That's not in my field.
I've been praying for the last year to win the lotto or something just to get rid of her.
I'm a very generous person. It's unfortunate that she doesn't see my generosity. She took one situation out of many to try and portray me as something which I'm not, and I find that not only offensive, hurtful, and unfortunate. Very, very sad.
I love her. I love her, and it's very sad that we have to do this.
Summers versus Hill. Step forward, please.
43-year-old auto mechanic Gary Summers claims his live-in girlfriend of 11 years, Veronica Hill, ran out with his money and son.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please, all rise. Judge, number 86 on the calendar in the matter of Summers versus Hill. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
You folks lived together for 11 years, or were together for 11 years and have a 5-year-old child.
Right.
Not married.
Right.
According to your complaint, sir, the defendant left you, and when she left you, she took $1,300 out of a business bank account.
Right.
You want your $1,300 back.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a few questions for you.
Sure.
During the 11 years that you were together, did you work?
All the time.
What kind of work did you do?
I've done printing, working in car wash, cashiering in a drugstore. Right now I'm currently in payroll and billing at a temporary service.
When you left, we'll get to that event in a moment, but when you left, what monies did you have after 11 years?
You mean as far as savings?
Yes.
Nothing.
What about property?
The only thing I had that was in my name that he's already taken was a car.
So this $1,300 was what you left with after 11 years?
Yes. And that and my son.
Now, Mr. Summers, I find some of the things that you say interesting. First of all, you were in business together.
No.
Well, you were in business.
Right.
What kind of business, sir?
Automotive air conditioning.
And what did you do in the business?
Service and repair. Automobiles, the air conditioning.
Did you have a shop?
No, I'm mobile.
What do you mean you're mobile?
I do it out of the back of a truck.
How long have you been doing it, sir?
4 years.
The business was in her name.
Yes.
Why?
2 reasons. One, I thought that it needed to be because of Social Security, because I also have an incurable spinal disease that leaves me on the sedentary rule for work. The sedentary rule for work. Anyway, I was given Social Security.
Just a second. You lost me someplace. You received Social Security disability.
Right.
Social Security disability means that you are disabled and cannot work.
Not under the sedentary rule.
Well, tell me what this rule is, because as a taxpayer, I would like to see what I could do to get it changed.
Okay, sure. Sure. It means that any repetitious, anything that is done for any certain period of time, no longer than 15 minutes, I didn't make the rules. I just go along with it.
And how long have you been on disability?
8 years.
And you've been doing this work running around in your truck, fixing cars for 4 years.
Right, right.
So what you're telling me is, sir, that the reason you put the business in her name is because you were afraid that if the business was in your name, your disability would stop.
No.
Well,
no.
then...
No, that's not true.
That's
I
not
have
true.
a 5.5-year-old son, Your Honor, that I wanted to be able to provide for in case anything happened to me. That's the God's truth. That's why I put
Sir,
it.
you're lucky that a lightning bolt didn't come right down.
Well,
and strike
that's,
you down.
let it strike me. That is the reason why. That is the reason why.
That's a lot of baloney.
Well,
That's a lot of baloney.
okay.
The baloney part is that when you're receiving disability, disability means that one is unemployable. And if you opened up a business and if you were told the Social Security Administration 4 years ago that you were now involved in doing work that was not repetitious because you were going someplace else, they would have stopped your disability.
No, ma'am, they have not, and I have. And I have. I'm allowed to have anything as long as it's not over $2,000 in my account.
I see that you got the system down to a science. How much, by the way, how much do the taxpayers give you every month from disability?
$650.
Pocket money. Nice. All right. Now, you also bought a house,
Yes.
sir, while you were together. Is that right?
Yeah.
And according to your papers, you put the house in your name.
No, my father actually bought the house.
What do you mean your father bought the house?
My father bought the home so that I would have a home for my son to grow up in.
What about-
I'm
what
paying
about
the
your son's-
mortgage payment.
You're making the payments.
Yes, I
So
make
the
the
house
mortgage
is in your
payment.
father's name.
Yes.
Interesting. Got this really worked out. And what did you do with your money, Miss Hill, when the money that you earned?
It went towards groceries and bills.
Did you have a joint account?
Yes, we did.
But the house you knew was in his father's name.
I knew that it was always in his father's name, but I just recently found out after we split up that it is also in his name. Not my name, but his and his
You're
dad's.
telling me that it's in joint names with his father?
That's what I was told.
Is that true, sir?
No, the insurance is.
What do you mean the insurance is?
Well, because I live in the home, it was good to put me on the insurance in case anything happened to the home.
But not her. So you got a house, and you have a business, and she's got $1,300, period. What else did she leave this 11-year relationship with, sir?
My son.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was hurt. I was very hurt.
Yeah, that's why she took the money. It hurt so bad she had to get compensation.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Veronica Hill admits she ran out on auto mechanic Gary Summers and took his son, but claims she had to leave because of Gary's controlling behavior.
You say in your answer to his complaint that you found certain papers before you left in the house.
Yes?
Would you like to tell me, please, what papers you found before you left with your son?
Gary had already started proceedings to get custody of my son, and I didn't know.
How did you find those papers, and where did you find them?
I found him in his work clipboard. One day I was looking through it, I don't remember for what, but I found the papers in there underneath some invoices.
And what were the papers for? What did they say?
He was filling out the papers already to take me to court to get custody of my son from me.
When had you begun to fill out those papers, Mr. Summers?
Around the end of March.
And when did you leave, Miss Hill?
April 20th, and I found those papers in the beginning of March.
Had you ever gone to court seeking custody before you found those papers?
Never, not until March 7th and March 6th, excuse me.
March or April?
I'm sorry, April.
Had you already left the house?
No, I did not leave until April 20th, and that was the day before our hearing.
And at the hearing, who was awarded primary custody of the child?
Well, that first day that we went to court, he was ordered to go and be drug tested. And after we went to court again on May 14th, we were both awarded joint custody with my residence being the primary.
What was the result of the drug test?
Positive.
For?
Marijuana.
Mr. Summers, you lived with Miss Hill for 11 years.
Yes, ma'am.
They do not have anything in this jurisdiction and in most other states about community property for people who aren't married. If they did, she'd be entitled to a lot more than $1,300.
Ma'am, I earned that money. She got all of her money that she...
What do you mean she had all of her money?
Well, whatever
where?
she earned, she took. The other account she took out of there. The savings she took out of there.
Just a second. Did you take out any other money, Miss Hill?
Yes, I did.
What other money did you take out?
I took out $200 from our personal account.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
What other money did you take out?
I took out the $1,300 out of the business account.
And the savings.
What about
Golden One savings.
Just a second. I have
Which
$200
wasn't
that you took out.
$200 out of the personal and $1,300 out of the business.
And you said something about a
And the
savings account.
Credit union savings account was in my name.
And mine.
How much money was in the credit union?
$25.
The whole thing. I'm talking
Yeah.
about the whole business.
There was about $25. That's all there was when I cleaned it out.
Okay.
There was only $25. The most we ever had in there was probably about $600, and that went little by little for bills or whatever.
And how much do you think was in there, Mr. Summers?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know because it was gone before I got to it, before I checked on it. But I don't believe that it was just $25.
Think it was maybe $200?
Well, maybe at the most. It wasn't a large sum of money, no.
So, at the most, you say maybe it was $200. So what Miss Hill left with was $1,700, right?
she's ready to rule.
I better watch out for my son because my son needed to live in a better home.
And later today,
And they call my son a white supremacist because he's sitting on a phone booth threatening my son, and my son just reaches up and grabs him by the arm and pulls him down.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
So after an 11-year relationship, she left with $1,700. So, and the business was in her name. She can take whatever she wants out of the business. You put it in...
Even though she didn't earn it. Even though I went out and I'm the one that deposited that money. She never deposited that money. Had it been in my name, then it would have been okay because we lived together.
What
for her
I'm
to
telling
take
you
it.
is you had an 11-year relationship, sir, and if you expect this woman, after she finds out that you, behind her back, are seeking to take custody away from her,
That's
of her
not true.
child, without discussing it with her, which is exactly what happened. Oh, exactly what happened.
No, ma'am, because I could have done it and I never did. And I
You
wasn't
feel-
about to, and I have a
So
doctor.
what'd you do? So what'd
I
you-
have a doctor that I see quite frequently, okay, for counseling. I asked him to please set up somebody so that we could stay together. I tried to keep us together. I did that. I didn't want any split up. I never did want to split up. When she became very adamant on the fact that she couldn't live with me, then I thought I better watch out for my son because my son needed to live in a better home.
Okay, well, the court has already made a determination about where your son is going to live. He's going to
No,
live
he hasn't. No, they haven't, Your Honor. That is not true.
If they haven't, they haven't. That's not
That
really
is not
before
true.
me. According to you, the court made at least an initial determination that primary custody was with
Right, but
you.
I've been
No.
served with papers again because he's taken me back to court to sue me again for custody.
I'm not
so-
suing anybody. I'm doing what you're supposed to do in family law. I'm giving my response to the last hearing.
Good. Well, I'm giving my response to you, Mr. Summers. I'm dismissing your lawsuit. That's all.
Parties are step out.
Okay.
I took the money, Gary, and I had to get
What did you do
compensation,
with
but you have
What
not
did you do
paid
with money?
anything,
What did
have
you do
you?
with money? What did you do with money?
I got the receipts right in here to show you. You can see them.
What'd you do
They
with it,
went
Robbie?
towards your son's child care.
Oh, Veronica, please.
He won't let it go. I know he won't.
Well, of course I won't. I want my son.
Parties on Arriaga, Salazar versus Padilla, Rogers. Step forward, please.
14-year-old Daniel Salazar says his one-time school friend, Andrew Padilla, badly injured him when he pulled him off a phone booth.
Daniel, that's you and you're Andrew? Yes. You're his mother?
Yeah, Daniel's mother.
Why don't you have a seat? And you're Andrew's mother?
Yes.
Till I need you, why don't you have a seat? Because this really is a matter between the two boys until we come to the money. Then you're involved. You say that this young man injured you.
Yes,
You want him to pay for your medical bills.
yes.
Why don't you tell me about it? Tell me what happened.
Well, it was like after spring vacation, and I came to school.
Speak up, please, so I can hear you.
I came to school, and some kids were saying that if I wanted to fight him, because supposedly everyone said I was mad at him, which wasn't true. So like this went on for 3 days. Like on the third day, I went up to him and I told him that if he had a problem, because I didn't. And then he said, all right, we didn't have a problem. Then on the fourth day, two of my friends, we were walking to a store because they gave us a ride there.
You were walking to a store. You ended up on top of a phone booth, according to your statement.
Yes.
What were you doing sitting on top of a
We were
phone
waiting
booth?
for my friend's mom.
To pick you up from someplace?
Yes.
So you're sitting on top of the phone booth, and what happened?
I had my hands in my pocket and I saw Andrew coming, and he like made a phone call. While he was making the phone call, when he hanged up, he pulled my arm. I fell to the ground, and that's all I remember.
Then you passed out?
Yes.
What kind of injuries did you have?
I had some scratches on my face, my leg. It was messed up for a little while, and I just had X-rays. I had X-rays on my head.
What is the total amount of your medical bills?
I'm not sure.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Who are you?
I'm a friend of the family. I live with them. I'm like his aunt. I've been living with his mom, and I'm there when the kids get home from school.
I'd like to see the medical bills, please.
What I originally put in the paperwork was $1,900, but those were the bills that we had gotten at that point. They're now up to $2,500, and I think $2,580 is what it is now.
Andrew!
Yes.
You said this was all an accident, Andrew.
Yes, it was. At first, we were real good friends. Like, and one day it seemed like between his friends, his brother, and my friends, like he wanted me to choose between, like.
Do me a favor. Get to the telephone booth.
Oh, the telephone booth. All right. I walked to the phone
And I
booth.
want you to do something for me.
Yeah.
I want you to try to say a sentence without the word like.
All right. I walked to the phone booth to make a phone call. I called my mom, tell her I was gonna be late. I hung up the phone, and then I reached up to grab him by the arm to bring him down. And
Why?
Huh? Talk to him. Talk to him.
Why didn't you just look up and say, I'd like to talk to you?
He was like mad dogging me and stuff. He was like looking
was
at me
what?
like intimidating me, mad dogging. Give me dirty looks. So, I was just like, pull him
Andrew,
down.
what'd your mother teach you about sticks and stones?
Oh yeah, I know. I just pulled him down and talked to him.
You pulled him down, but he got hurt.
My intent was not for him to get hurt. He tried to brace himself to stop me from pulling him down.
He tried to brace himself so that you couldn't pull him down.
Yeah, causing him to fall.
Yes. So this isn't your fault?
Nah. No.
Andrew, sometimes when you start a situation, you don't intend the consequences of that situation to happen. It's like I've sat in court and I've listened to guys who were charged with driving while they were intoxicated and injuring somebody. And they said to me, I never intended to hurt anybody. I wouldn't hurt anybody. I had something to drink, but it was never my intention to cause that accident. Well, when you start a scenario that's wrong and something happens, then you're responsible. Now I'll hear you. Step up.
First off, we brought a witness because Daniel was telling Tony that he was going to beat Andrew up.
So?
3 days prior to this.
So what? What does that have to do with anything?
He was telling everybody at school he was going to beat Andrew up.
So what does that have to... Madam!
They run into each other at the liquor store. Daniel's giving him dirty looks. He put Andrew into the position of, I want to find out what's going on. Andrew reached up and grabbed him by the arm, pulled him down. Natural instinct when you start to fall. Don't you put your hands down to protect yourself? Or you fall into the person that pulled you down?
So you believe that your son is not responsible for this?
She's ready to rule.
And you don't even remember. Because you were dazed and confused because you
even admitted you were
purposely didn't
dazed.
catch yourself.
So you believe that your son is not responsible for this?
No.
Very good. The
I
medical
feel he
bills
should
in this
not have
case are
put his
$25. Shut.
hands.
Listen to me. The medical bills in this case are $2,500. That's what all these medical bills are, and that's what you owe. And I'm going to tell you something. You haven't taught your son well, and if you
yes, I
continue,
have.
listen to me, and if you continue to inculcate him with your excusal philosophy, you're going to find yourself standing in court more often than just today.
No.
Let me tell you why. He went up and took a physical step to pull him down, and he acknowledged to me that he didn't want to be pulled down to talk to him, so he wrapped himself around the phone booth. By the way, was this the only phone booth on the block?
Yes.
If you were having difficulty with him, if you felt intimidated by him and you saw him perched on top of this phone booth, why didn't you go someplace else to make a phone call?
Because that's the only phone.
Andrew,
Yes.
what do you see written on my forehead, Andrew? Not stupid, right? Not stupid, right?
No.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff for the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
On the next Judge Judy.
And they call my son a white supremacist because he's sitting on a phone booth threatening my son, and my son just reaches up and grabs him by the arm and pulls him down.
That was not all
Bull.
he did.
Just to
No,
talk to
witness.
him.
I have a police report.
I don't
What
care
he
what
told
the
the
police
police
report
officer.
says because they did nothing to my son.
No, I'm talking about what he told
You
the police
weren't
officer
there,
that
and
he
you
did.
believe him, and he's a liar. You
He's
called
trying-
911.
It's not me. It's her son.
You called
He
911.
was injured.
You called 911.
I did call 911 because I
A
was
person
concerned.
that doesn't have medical insurance, do they
So
call
you
911?
laid him there down to die?
No, you put
Because
him
you
in the
don't have
car and you
insurance?
take him to the
There was
doctor's
no car at the
office.
house.
Then
She
you
was
don't
at work.
belong watching kids.
I'm not
You
watching
don't have any sense.
My goodness.
Parties on Beers versus Murphy. Step forward, please.
40-year-old Terry Beers says her daughter, Amy Murphy, broke her eyeglasses during a fight over 2 fish tanks.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 270 on the calendar in the matter of Beers versus Murphy. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, sir.
It's your daughter.
Yes.
Your complaint alleges that your daughter broke your glasses during an altercation that you were having.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to get to the reason why you would sue her for the damage to your glasses, for the new glasses, in a minute. I have a countersuit by you for the destruction of a fish tank and fish and the filter and everything else against your mother. I think you're probably suing the wrong person, because I don't think she destroyed your fish tank, right?
Right.
So let's start at the beginning. How did this tragedy start?
Amy had written to me in May and asked to come and live with us. They wanted to relocate from Vermont.
Who's they?
Amy and Jeff and my grandchildren.
Jeff.
Yes.
And
Go
so
ahead, sit down.
I allowed them to come in, and we were all getting along just fine. And then Amy decided that she was no longer going to be associated with Jeff, so she kicked him out of my house. Well, 2 weeks went by, and he said that he wasn't going to support his grandchildren. And with my rising utility bills, I asked him to move those fish out of my house.
Okay, we sort of missed a step. When they moved in not only with their children,
Yes.
but with a fish tank.
Big fish tanks.
How big?
About as big as this table. One of them was, and then the other one was about this big.
Full of fish.
There were only 4 fish.
Okay. But a big tank.
Big tanks.
Okay. All right. So you decided that the electric bills were too high.
Mm-hmm.
So you told him to get his fish tank out
Just
of the
to
house.
move the fish, and I would take care of the children and Amy.
Okay. What happened? He didn't.
He didn't, no. For about 2 weeks, we all tried to get him to move those fish, and he wouldn't. And then on the night of August 3rd, Edward,
That's your boyfriend?
yes, ma'am, unplugged the fish tank, both of them. Amy discovered that they were unplugged, plugged them back in. Now, I
And the
wasn't
4
here
fish
at
were
the
still
time.
alive at that point.
Yeah,
Big fish, little fish?
big fish.
Big.
Big fish. She plugged them back in, and Edward kind of got a little upset and started throwing things out the door.
You mean the fish tank out the door?
Just the filters, the pump, and lights.
Wrong. Right?
Right.
Right. That's what I said that evening.
That
Wrong.
That he
If
was
I
wrong.
would have been there, I don't think it would have happened.
So you weren't there
No,
when he
I
threw
was
it.
not.
And then your daughter came in.
Well, she called me at a friend's house to give me grief. And then I went home, and about a half an hour later, Amy comes through my bedroom door just a screeching. And we ended up in my other daughter's bedroom, and we were still screeching at each other. And she just started hitting me.
And your glasses fell off.
They broke off.
They broke off. Where did she hit you?
About the head and shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I restrained her on my daughter's bed. And we were screeching a little more. And next thing I know, she pops me in the mouth about 5 or 6 times after that.
Had you ever had that kind of physical altercation with your daughter before, Miss
No.
Beers? It was the first time.
Yes.
How old are you?
I'm 20.
How many kids do you have?
I have 2.
How old are they?
My daughter's going to be 2 in December, and my son's going to be 4 in February.
So you were 16 when your son was born.
Yes.
He's the father of both children?
Yes.
You work?
Yep.
That's a start. What do you do?
Carpentry and fishing, commercial fishing.
You make a living?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Are you married?
No.
Nope.
Stand up here. Why?
I didn't want to rush Amy into a marriage situation, into a full commitment type thing. I want it to be, you know, her decision as well as mine. And she, being young, I wasn't going to rush her into making a full commitment like that.
What do you think a 2- and a 4-year-old are?
A commitment.
That's a full commitment. You know, a marriage, you can say, I made a mistake, I put erasers on pencils for a reason, I crossed this out and I move on. You can't do that with 2 children. Always amazes me. You know, I'm not from this generation.
From a different time.
Different time. You have to make a mental commitment to get married, but not to have 2 children together.
We want to get married.
What?
But it's not that easy.
Why is it not just... Why is it not that easy?
Because we've had a rough time. I mean, it is difficult making a living supporting 2 children and paying all the bills myself.
Well, you've been doing it now for 4 years. Why can't you pay $15 and get a marriage license?
Did that bother you?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I think you have to forgive each other.
Just sick and tired of getting hurt. I've been through too much in my life, and I have 2 kids, and I'm trying to do the best I can with them.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terry Beers is suing her daughter, Amy Murphy, because she broke her eyeglasses during a fight over 2 fish tanks. Amy claims her mother caused the fight, and she only pushed her in self-defense.
Now, Amy.
Yes.
Did you hit your mother?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Because she would not get off me, and I kept on telling her to get off me.
I wasn't on her at that time.
She was quiet.
I'm
now you have
sorry.
to be quiet, Miss Beers. She was on you how, Amy?
She pinned me down to my sister's bed, and she had me locked down.
Well, how did it start?
How did it start?
You came home, you were angry.
Yes, but...
So you walk in the door, you were angry. Tell me what happened.
I went into my mother's room, and I did ask for an explanation.
How did you ask?
I said it with a tone, but I wasn't screaming, though.
Okay.
But Ed, both of these people were drunk at this time, too. And they were screaming at me, and I just come off and I said, you have lost rights to my grandchildren because of this. And I walked out of the room, and I started to go get some clothes for the kids. Ed came in the room first, and he was hollering at me, and he was in my face hollering at me, and he wouldn't back away from me. And my mother came in the room, and I was going to walk downstairs, and she blocked the doorway and said I wasn't going anywhere, little missy. And Ed had approached me, and my mother was in my face. Both of them were screaming at me, and these 2 people are drunk in front of me, screaming at me, and I was asking them nicely, and then I went to screaming to tell them to get them out of my face, and they wouldn't. I was scared.
So what did you do, Amy?
What did I do?
Amy, look at me. Look at me and tell me what you did.
I went towards the doorway, and my mother blocked the door, and I backed up, and she got in my face some more.
And you pushed her?
Yes, I pushed her away from me, but it was a push, just get away from me, please. And she pushed me back. I pushed her, she pushed me back, and I ended up on the bed, and she pinned me there. And I kept on telling her to get off me. I was screaming. I was crying for her to get off me. I have 2 bars in my back, and she was hurting me. And through everything that I've been through in my life, this woman did not deserve to do that to me.
Everybody was hot, Amy?
Yes, everyone was. Everyone was angry.
And you were hot over a fish tank?
It wasn't really the fish tank. It was the point behind it.
Which was?
Was why he did that to my things. I mean,
Yeah, he was absolutely wrong. But what did that have to do with your mother?
what did it have to do with my mother?
Yeah,
I called her up on the phone. She was at a friend's house, and she was trying to warn me all along that Ed was going to get angry and he was going to do something, but I never knew what he was going to do. I never, immediately thought, oh, that means he's going to ruin my fish stuff. I mean, I never knew that was he's going to do it. My mom tried warning me, and that's what I was angry about. And she just stood right by his side like it was no big deal at all.
No, well, she tried to warn you, didn't she?
Yeah, she did.
I certainly am not condoning him destroying property that belonged to you. It was your property?
It's
mine.
It was yours?
It was a family project. The kids helped me put it together, and they were all involved in it. And
Yeah, it
when
was
we
an
came back,
absolutely
the
wrong
kids
thing to
saw
do.
this. The kids saw that.
What happened to the fish?
Well, eventually they were killed. They were dumped out on the ground. The tank was smashed.
And if they waited one more day, we would have found
Who did that?
Ed and Harold.
And I would like to submit that another reason their electricity bill was so high is because Harold put a new air conditioner in his little trailer, and they had 15 things all plugged into one outlet. Of course, your electricity bill is going to go right up.
Jeff, that's really not particularly relevant.
Okay.
Your last name, sir?
Hutchinson.
They may sue you for this fish tank,
Right.
right? But this lawsuit is against your mother. The countersuit is against your mother's. She didn't destroy your fish tank. You had no reason to touch their property.
Exactly.
Period. I don't care what it is. First of all, sir, how long have you two been together?
5 years.
What you do, and I don't know whether you're in for the long haul or the short haul, that's up to her.
Long haul.
Long haul? Anybody that would do such a thing, that would have that kind of temper, Miss Beers, I would think about making it a long-term commitment.
Well, we're working on him.
You got to usually start with them when they're about 3.
Oh, well, I know.
Right? So he's past 3. But you see, Ed, what you did affected her relationship with her daughter. My sense is that you had a baby when you were 16, became pregnant when you were 15. There was probably a lot of turmoil in your house. Is that a fair statement? Was your mother supportive of you?
No.
Well, she let you move back into the house. How could you say that wasn't
She did,
supportive?
but she threw me out when I was 16 years old, out onto the street, packed my sister's things. I had nowhere to go.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You only have one mother. She may not be perfect. And if she's made mistakes as a mother, you're supposed to forgive her. Want to give her a hug? Please.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terry Beers and her daughter, Amy Murphy, are in court after an argument turned violent, leaving Terry with broken eyeglasses. Amy says she was only defending herself after her mother started the fight.
How long were you estranged from your mother?
Oh, I'd say...
Not very long.
Year?
No, it wasn't that long.
Okay.
They were still in Maine when my first grandchild was born.
Amy, what I'm trying to say is, other people come and go in your life. That's just a reality. But you may get angry with your mother. She may get angry with you. You may have arguments, whatever. But you can usually count on your mother. Bottom line, when all is said and done, more than you can count on anybody else in your whole life. You can count on your mother. Now, what you did, sir, was interfere with that. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
I am.
Good. Then you can sit down. That was a good thing to say, so I can't even say anything to you. You are ashamed of yourself. You broke your mother's glasses.
Yes, I did.
It's a shame, Mrs. Beers, that you came to court with your daughter. I'm surprised that you did. You have a right to. Maybe what you needed was sort of a catharsis to get it all out. Maybe. Maybe that's why you're here. I think you have to forgive each other. Amy, you're 20 years old. 20 years old is hardly cooked for a human being. And you may have lots of anger with your mother. She may have a lot of disappointment with you over, the way things turned out. But eventually it'll work itself out if you let it.
Just sick and tired of getting hurt. I've been through too much in my life, and I have 2 kids, and I'm trying to do the best I can with them.
We were trying to start over.
Yeah, it wasn't good enough.
Well, Amy, it's never too late to give it a shot with your mom. So you buy her new glasses. New glasses, what, $200? So that you have.
Thank you.
But Amy, you have 2 kids. And you have parents, Jeff?
Yeah, the kids are with my parents right now, and we haven't seen them since this happened.
Haven't seen the children?
Nope.
Why?
Because I've been busy every day working, and we really haven't been able to afford to go back and forth from Vermont, and we want our kids back as soon as we can.
So
and
they're
now
living
we
with
have
your
a stable
parents?
environment, yes.
So they're living with your parents?
Yeah, they're in their custody. I place custody of the children with my parents.
It's the safest thing to do for them.
At the time, that wasn't what it was. It was to hurt you.
I don't
This
understand.
is what Amy came home and told me, that he was taking the kids away to hurt Amy because he wouldn't take her back.
Well, they have clearly had some difficulty.
This is true.
Judge Judy, we agreed together to give custody of the kids to my parents, and it was a decision. We decided to take the kids out of Ed and Terry's
then
house
Amy's
because it was not a fit environment for our children.
Well, Jeff, I don't necessarily disagree with you, because I don't think that the kind of environment where you have this kind of hostility is a good place for children. It's a good thing for children to be surrounded by the love and support of grandparents. Grandparents are nice to children. They do all the nice things for kids and don't usually have any of the downside, discipline, and that sort of stuff. But bottom line is, if you are 2 reasonable people, you're going to have to make a solid home for yourselves so that you can take care of your children, because it's not fair for children to bounce around from one home to another home to your home, to not see you for weeks at a time. Children don't understand that, especially when they're 2 and 4 years old. How old are you?
28 today.
Well, we share a birthday.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Seems to me it's time for you 2 kids to really grow up and understand that you made these 2 babies, and it's your responsibility to grow up and make a home for them. I also want you to think, Amy, that you only have one mother. She may not be perfect. She may have made some tremendous mistakes. You made mistakes. And let's discount Ed. Ed is not really part of your life. She's part of your life. And if she's made mistakes as a mother, you're supposed to forgive her. Mothers are supposed to have unconditional love for their children. And children, as they get older, are supposed to forgive the frailties of a parent, because parents aren't perfect. Your kids will benefit from loving 2 sets of grandparents. All right? Okay. I'm going to buy your mother some new glasses. Want to give her a hug? Please. Huh? Not yet?
Nope. Not ready to yet.
Will you think about it? Please?
Yep.
Okay. Good luck.
Please excuse you. May step out. Out the back door.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She's telling everybody the wrong things. She tells people what she wants them to hear and not what you 2 discussed.
I've been through a lot with this woman, and there's just no ending to the games that I'm going through, and I'm sick of it. And this is the end of it right here, and I've already made up my mind, so.
Bodies on Hutchinson versus Glenn. Step forward, please.
Gail Hutchinson is suing her former boyfriend, Tony Glenn, because he beat her up during an argument by slamming her head on the pavement. Tony claims Gail was harassing him and his new wife, and he says he hit her in self-defense after she maced him.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 351 on the calendar in the matter of Hutchinson versus Glenn. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
You're suing the defendant because you say he assaulted you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And injured you badly.
Yes.
So let me try to put this in perspective. You and the defendant dated in 1992.
Yes.
And not since.
Right.
And this assault happened in what year?
1997.
Just this past summer, in July. What were you doing near him in 1997?
Well, first of all, I wasn't near him. I was walking home from the store, and he came up behind me and viciously attacked me. Your Honor, I have pictures of my injuries.
You mean for no reason out of the blue, he just came up behind you and viciously attacked you?
Yes.
So tell me how that happened.
Well, first of all, we wasn't exactly friends after we broke up. It was a lot of animosity between us, and he told some people that he was going to beat me down like a dog on the street when he saw me, and that's what he did.
And now I'll take a look at your pictures. You were arrested for this assault, sir. Is that correct?
Yes, I was, ma'am.
And according to your papers, you had a trial already.
That's true.
Correct?
Yes.
And the jury found you not guilty.
That's correct. Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
That doesn't prevent you from suing here. You understand that? That's why you're here. Now, you want to tell me your version of this incident, sir?
Yes, ma'am. We broke up, and she just keeps harassing me.
How?
Just keeps coming back, harassing me.
How? I know you keep saying that. How does she harass you?
Over the phone, harassing me. She vandalized my car. I have restraining orders.
How many restraining orders do you have against her?
Well, I have this one restraining order against her.
This was in 1995.
Correct. She doesn't even think that it's enforceable. She just keeps coming back to me.
Well, when you say keeps coming back to you, she comes back to you by phone?
Yeah, by phone.
You say harassment. Tell me exactly what she was doing, sir.
Well, she'd come back. She'd call me on the phone all the time, harassing me, cursing me out, cursing whoever answers the phone out, you know, if it's a female or whatever.
Stop shaking your head.
It's
not impressing me.
She has like a fatal attraction. I don't know. I can't shake her.
So tell me what happened on this particular day, sir.
The incident, the day?
Yes.
The day of the incident, she had been harassing me all day long, harassing my wife.
You're married now?
Right. I got married, and she had been harassing my wife all day.
How?
Just calling.
You mean on the phone? Well, I don't want you to use the word harassing anymore. I want you to say what she'd been doing. She had been calling on the phone?
Calling, harassing me, threatening. Threatening me, you know, threatening my wife with bodily injury, threatening her with if she sees her come outside, she's going to do some damage to her. You know, threatening me with I'm going to get my boyfriend to, you know, beat you up and all this. And so
what did you do?
So I started to call the police, you know. I called the police all day long, you know. Kept calling the police, they never showed up. If you take a couple of minutes, Your Honor, you will hear it right here on the tape.
Tapes to the police?
Correct.
I'd like to hear them.
So I was calling. What can you do about somebody who constantly harassing you making threats to your wife. And
where are they threatening you from?
they're threatening from a phone booth, and they've been threatening me. I had a restraining order put against them. And
they're still calling you after you have the restraining order already on file?
now she's calling and threatening my wife.
Threatening to do what?
Threatening to do violence. Just keep calling. I put a block on my phone, going to the phone booth calling, and she's vandalized my car. I had that.
Did you report that already?
Yes, I reported that once, and I'm not sure what I can do because, you know.
Is she making death threats?
Yeah.
Okay.
Serious threats, like she's going to do violence. She knows what she looks like. She's going to come to the door and you know, break in, try and get in the house.
What's your address? Oh, is it a house or an apartment?
Apartment 206.
What's your name?
My name is Tony Glenn.
Glenn with a G, George?
Glenn.
Okay, we'll be there.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Health Emergency Dispatch 20.
Yes, I was calling. Someone was supposed to come out to my house because I had someone making threats against me and my family.
What was the address that you gave?
Pearl Street, apartment 206.
Okay, is this Tony Glenn?
Yes.
Okay, what's going on now?
Well, the person's still calling, making threats. And the police haven't came. I called about an hour ago.
Yeah, we got your call. As soon as we get an officer out there for the report, they'll be out there.
All right.
Thank you.
Oakland Police 22?
Yes, I was calling trying to find out. I called the police about 4 hours ago, trying to get someone out to try and deal with this situation. Someone keeps calling, threatening my family. I know the person, but they're just constantly calling and harassing me, and, you know, they won't stop calling and making threats on people's lives.
This is Mr. Glenn?
Yes.
Okay, I see your call. We'll be there as soon as we have an officer available.
You must be very busy, huh?
Yes, extremely busy.
Okay, because I called like at 4.
Yep, we're that busy.
All right, turn it off, sir.
All right, well.
Turn it off, sir. Okay. Now, after you got frustrated because the police didn't arrive,
right,
what happened?
Okay, after she kept calling and calling and calling, and then finally, after the police never arrived, I said, look, what is it you want? What is it you want from me? You know, you keep harassing me, you're harassing my wife, she has nothing to do with this. And so I asked her what she wants, and she was like, well, you meet me at the bakery and we'll settle this, you know? And at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go down there and see what's going on. So I go down there, and then when I get down there, I walk up to her and she proceeds to try and spray me with the mace, the pepper spray, excuse me. And at that point, you know, we get into a fist fight, and you know, she's been asking for a confrontation for you know, she just wants to get me into a confrontation with her simply because I'm a man, and the way it turned out exactly the way the police saw it. This man's beating on this woman, you see, and that wasn't the case, you know.
Where was the pepper spray?
She had it in her hand. She came out the bakery. I walked up to her, you know, to find out what's going on.
So she told you to meet her at the bakery?
Correct.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He kicked me with his foot in my face several times.
Before or after you sprayed him?
It was before I sprayed him, and the pepper spray didn't even work.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 37-year-old Gail Hutchinson is suing her former boyfriend, Tony Glenn, for medical expenses, claiming he repeatedly kicked her and slammed her head on the pavement.
So tell me exactly what happened.
And when I walked up to her, she proceeded to spray me with the pepper spray. You know, she didn't hit me directly in the face, she hit me somewhere in here. So it didn't immobilize me, I guess, as she wanted it to. And at that point, I was defending myself, Your Honor.
Okay, so you hit her?
So I hit her, yeah.
Yeah, a few times?
Yeah, I hit her a couple of times. I mean...
A few times. She got a black eye, right? And you hit her where else?
I hit her in the face, maybe I hit her in the head, and, you know...
You hit her pretty good.
I think I threw her down.
You have any papers from the criminal court?
No, but you know, they found me not guilty.
I know they did.
All
right, Miss Hutchinson.
First of all, Your Honor, I never did harass him.
Just a second. Yes, you did. Just a second. Yes, you did. I have to explain something to you. I'm like a truth machine. Now, nobody has cause to put their hands on anybody else, but don't stand there and tell me that you didn't harass him, because you did. You called his house many times. You called his house and spoke to his wife, you called the house and spoke to him. Now, you know that, and I know that. Right?
Right.
All right. Now, then you did say to him, I'll meet you at the bakery. Right?
Right.
All right. So he didn't just come up from behind you out of nowhere and beat you up. And you did have pepper spray. Right?
Right.
Now, Miss Hutchinson, get over him. Do you understand? You pushed this man to the limit. What did you expect him to do? You've been calling and threatening him at his house. Time and time again. You've been calling and threatening his wife. Time and time again. You tell him to meet you so that you can settle it. He's frustrated because the police are not responding. He comes to meet you. And when you see him, you take out pepper spray and you spray him. What did you expect him to do? Say thank you very much?
Because it wasn't like that. He kicked me. He came from behind me, and he pushed me to the ground, and he kicked me with his foot in my face several times.
Before or after you sprayed him?
It was before he sprayed me, before I sprayed him, and the pepper spray didn't even work.
That's not true.
It didn't work.
That's
it
not
didn't
true,
work.
Miss Hutchinson, let me explain something to you. This is why your case was dismissed in the criminal court, because you lied. And when you lie, a fact finder, that's me, or in the criminal court, that was the jury, they don't know what to believe and what not to believe. Do you understand?
Yes.
So when you tell one lie, I don't know whether the second part of what you're telling me is the truth or a lie. All I know is you say first you told me a story that he came out of nowhere and he assaulted you. And you didn't know why. And you kept shaking your head when you said that, when he was telling me the story about how you were calling and harassing him, you kept shaking your head, no, 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 that's not true. And it turns out it was true. And you came to that meeting with him that you asked for. So he didn't come out of nowhere. You told him, meet me at the bakery. You just told me that that's what you told him. And you came armed with pepper spray, or mace, or whatever else it was. What did you expect him to do? He's married. He doesn't want anything to do with you anymore. Leave him alone. Otherwise, you're going to have difficulty with him. He's already had a restraining order against you. I mean, that took time to get. Judge gave him a restraining order against you. You have to leave him alone, because you're going to, you know, you can push somebody so far and then they're going to lose it. And then you say, oh, I didn't do anything. But you did. You keep pushing his buttons. You can't do that, Miss Hutchinson. You're stalking him. There are laws against stalking. There are laws against the kinds of things that you were doing to him and to his wife. And you have to stop it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You have to stop pushing his buttons, madam, because after a while you push his buttons, you never know where it's going to end up.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tony Glenn says his former girlfriend, Gail Hutchinson, was a fatal attraction who harassed him and his new wife. She's suing him for beating her up, but he claims it was in self-defense.
Now, Mr. Glenn, that doesn't excuse the fact that you probably overreacted to what happened when you hit her. You understand that. The pepper spray hit you around here. So you weren't, in fact, at risk of your life at the time. You really hit her pretty badly because she's got a black eye and she has some other bruises on her. You went a little overboard. But I don't think you went overboard, sir, out of any maliciousness. I think that you had just had it. You hadn't, I mean, have you seen her pictures?
But Your Honor, she was fighting back. It's not like...
I'm sure she was fighting back.
She was fighting back.
Listen to me. I'm sure, as calm, as sweet as she stands here now, I'm sure she was fighting back.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to award her any money. I am going to dismiss this case just as the criminal court dismissed the case because I think in that case the jury was right. You have to stop pushing his buttons, madam, because after a while you push his buttons, you never know where it's going to end up. Do you understand? That's all. This case is dismissed.
What's my
Now listen to me.
countersuit?
Let me tell you about your countersuit, sir. Listen to me. You're suing her for the expenses of living together in 1992, when you were living together. I read your countersuit. Mr. Glenn, why are you looking at me with a look of incredulity? You say in your answer, listen to me, sir. You say in your answer that you lived together and you paid all the bills in 1992 and she was supposed to pay you rent. We are now in 1997, right?
That's correct.
Just a second. Did you ever sue her before for the money that she owed you?
Well,
that you say...
But I had to pay it back, though.
Mr. Glenn, listen to me carefully, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
This happened in 1992, right?
That's true.
Did you ever sue her before?
No, I didn't sue her before.
Good. Right. Now, you're also requesting money that you had to pay for a lawyer, right?
Of course. I mean...
And just shh. Where is the bill for the lawyer?
Here it is.
Let me see it.
I mean...
Let me see the bill. Mr. Glenn, what I'm telling you is you're not totally blameless in this whole thing, sir, because you really shouldn't have gone down to the bakery to meet her.
I've done everything in my power to try and, deal with her.
Sir. Mr. Glenn, you can stand there and you can stamp your feet all you like. What I'm telling you is...
Your Honor...
Shh.
Your Honor, may I say one thing?
Just a minute. What's the name of your lawyer, sir?
Cornell Solomon. May I say one thing, Your Honor?
Yes.
My wife just gave birth last night.
Right.
That amount of money has just totally wiped me out.
Just a second. What I'm asking is, first of all, one of these amounts has been changed.
No, it has.
Oh, yes, it has.
No, it has.
Shh, shh. Oh, yes, it has. This was a 6, and it was made a 7. I know, or a 7, it was made a 6. I don't know exactly what it was, but you say that this one is $600?
That's correct.
All right. How much did you pay the lawyer in total, sir?
$2,500. That's a lot of money, Your Honor.
Just a second. You paid the lawyer $2,500? Give me his phone number. Give me his phone number. Because I'm not entertaining your lawsuit for this money that you say she owes you from when you were living together 5 years ago. I'm not doing it, Mr. Glenn. Okay. Just give me a minute, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Could you return this card to Mr. Glenn, please? Mr. Glenn, first of all, let me tell you, I like your lawyer. And I think that he probably did a very good job for you. You did, in fact, give him an initial retainer of $750. He charged you $500 a day for each day of the trial. You still owe him $750, right?
That's true.
Okay. But you're going to pay him, aren't you?
Of course. I got to.
Very good. And I believe, Mr. Glenn, that you are... Do you work, sir?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
Janitorial.
You live in the apartment where you're the janitor?
No. I work at a separate community, child care.
Okay. How long have you been working for this company?
5 years.
How much money do you earn?
About $1,400. $1,400 a month.
A month? And what about your wife, sir?
She isn't working at this time. She just had a baby last night.
Is that your first baby?
Yes.
Yes. Her first baby?
Yes.
Boy or a girl?
Boy.
How big?
He was 5 pounds, 13 ounces.
Little boy. I'm giving you your legal fees, sir.
Appreciate
Judgment in this case is on the counterclaim for the defendant, $2,500. Leave him alone.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Parties on Barry versus Circadian. Step forward, please.
29-year-old health food clerk Jennifer Berry wants former boyfriend Paul Sakajian, 46, to pay back a loan she made to him for a car.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Judge, this is case number 485 in the matter of Barry versus Sakajian. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Barry, you claim that the defendant owes you $3,000 for a loan that you made to him.
Yes, ma'am.
He says he paid you back. So first, would you mind telling me why you gave him $3,000?
I gave him the $3,000 to go.
It wasn't $3,000.
It was.
Want to get to you?
That's correct, actually. I loaned the defendant $2,500 for him to purchase a 1995 Honda Civic. Upon returning it to me, he agreed to pay an additional $500. So, in a sense, it would be $3,000 that he returned to me.
What was the $500 for?
It would have been to apply toward...
It was interest, Your Honor.
Yes, that's correct. It was interest.
That's a lot of interest.
Yeah.
Over how long a period was he supposed to pay you back?
It was going to be over a 3-week period.
$500 interest for 3 weeks? Are you a loan shark?
No. No, ma'am. He was planning to fix the car and then sell it and...
It's not true, Jennifer.
Just a second. Would you do me a favor? You're irritating me. It's not a good idea to start off by irritating the person who's supposed to decide your case. All right, let me cut to the chase. From what I gather from what you started to tell me before you were rudely interrupted, the $500 is because he was going to buy this truck, fix it up, sell it for a profit, and you wanted a piece of the profit.
That's a part of it. He actually had a truck before that he was going to sell, and he was going to give me the proceeds from the truck that he was selling.
Well, it's all getting very complicated. All I want to know is as follows.
Okay.
Did you, in fact, take out $2,500 and give it to him?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Because he was having some financial difficulties and...
Was he a friend of yours?
Yes.
Was he a boyfriend of yours?
Yes.
Was he your only boyfriend?
Yes.
Now, you did, in fact, sir, borrow this money from her.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Why did you borrow money from the lady?
She sort of offered to sort of make, alleviate my problems by having to go to a bank and, you know, pull out the money and from a savings account to a checking account. And what I done was like, she said that you can just borrow the money because we banked at the same bank and I could pay her in due time because I need to buy some parts.
So what you're telling me is it was too much trouble for you to take the money out of your savings account.
Right.
And put it in your checking account.
I had to take a day off from work. That's why it was, Your Honor.
It's getting better all the time. All right. So you borrowed money from your girlfriend.
She actually, I didn't
just
borrow.
say yes or no. So
Yes,
you
I
borrowed
did.
money from your girlfriend.
Yes, I did.
All right. Now, she says you didn't pay her back. Right?
Yes.
Did you ask him for the money back?
Many times, ma'am.
After what period of time did you two break up?
It was about the time that I started asking for the money back.
How long after the loan?
About 2 months after.
You were supposed to pay her the money back in 3 weeks, right?
Right.
But you didn't.
Not
Pay her
true.
back in 3 weeks.
I have what you call records showing that on the day that I sold my truck, she got her money.
Well, show me that. I'm really interested in that. And this case can be over very quickly. This doesn't say she got her money.
She had a pig slip collateral, Your Honor, for what do you call it, for the money that I borrowed.
Okay.
What collateral are you talking
Just
about?
1 second. This is for a 1990 Nissan.
Right.
And
that
this
was
is the truck that you're talking about.
Right.
So what you're saying to me is, as collateral for the loan that she made to you,
Right.
the $2,500 loan,
Right.
you gave her the pink slip for this truck.
Right, ma'am.
And what you're saying to me is, you sold this truck to this man,
Right.
and you couldn't have sold it without the pink slip.
Right.
So she had to give you the pink slip back.
Right. They were all
That's
all
a
of
lie,
us-
ma'am.
Shh, just a second.
All the parties were there that Sunday when the guy came to pick up the truck.
Were you ever there on a
No,
Sunday?
I was not there on Sunday. I don't know what man Mr. Sakajian is referring to.
She didn't get a chance to meet him. He was outside, and what happened was like, she was inside the house. I had to get the paperwork in order for me to do the transaction, so I can get the money. So that's when he wanted to get his pink slip so he can render the money to me. So I took the pink slip outside and I just came right back inside the house, gave her the money. That was
Did you
it.
have the pink slip for his truck?
I never received any pink slip. Nope.
Oh my God.
Oh, okay. Did this man ever see the plaintiff? Were
No.
they ever in the same place at the same time?
The only thing was there was just between here and there. She was in my room and the gentleman was outside.
He wasn't like
No.
Superman. He couldn't see through the kryptonite, right?
No.
Sir,
Yes.
I don't believe you. I think you're full of it.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She's angry at me because I told her that I don't want to see her no more. That's all it's about. That's all. It's not all about the money.
I hate to say this to you, sir. Look at you and look at her.
And later today,
I've helped her out, Your Honor.
How?
She's asked me to buy diapers.
Diapers?
I've babysat for her.
Babysat?
I've did whatever I could for her.
No,
regarding
no.
my
No,
circumstances.
no.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer Berry wants her ex-boyfriend, auto body shop manager Paul Sakajian, to repay the money she gave him for a car.
Now, there's some reason why you didn't give her back this money, because you didn't give her back this money.
She got her money.
Oh, no, she didn't. Why do you think she's here?
If
Let
I
me
was
ask you a question, sir. Why do you think she's here if she got back her money?
She's angry at me because I told her that I don't want to see her no more. That's all it's about. That's all. It's not all about the money.
I hate to say this to you, sir. Look at you and look at her. Why do you think she would be angry if you said you didn't want to see her anymore?
I can't read her mind, Your Honor.
I believe you when you say you didn't get your money back. I am not giving you the $500 interest. It's excessive. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
But I am giving you your $2,500. I don't believe a word that comes out of his mouth. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back door to your right, please.
Something like this has really made things difficult for me to be with him.
Just usually when I have a relationship with somebody, I don't like to have signed documents, and I feel pretty bad.
And now the next case.
Parties on Brown versus Bros. Step forward, please.
17-year-old Tyler Brown says his ex-fiancée, 18-year-old Mary Brose, should return her engagement ring and pay attorney fees he spent to get visitation for their 18-month-old baby.
What's your first name?
Tyler.
Tyler. This is your father?
Yes, this is my father.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Step up here, please. Tyler, you are 17?
Yes.
Miss Brose, you are 18?
Yes, I am.
Is this your mom?
Yes, my mom.
Would you step up here, please? There are two things at issue in this case. One is the return of an engagement ring, and the second involves legal fees that the plaintiff says that he was forced to incur when you tried to put his baby up for adoption. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, when she tried to put our baby up for adoption, Your Honor, yes.
That's what I said.
Okay.
All right. So how old were you two when you got engaged?
15.
Wonderful. Did your parents approve of that?
No.
Yes, they did, Your Honor. Her parents did approve of it. As a matter of fact, her mom was the one who was encouraging us to get married. She thought it would be in our best interest because Mary was pregnant, and our intentions were to stay together.
When you were 15?
Yes.
So tell me about this engagement ring. Where is it?
I lost it.
That's baloney. You don't lose an engagement ring. When did you give her the ring? After she told you she was pregnant?
Yes, it was just about a few weeks after she was pregnant, Your Honor.
You have a bill for it?
Yes, I have a receipt.
Were you living together at any time?
We've lived together on and off, Your Honor. She lived with my mom and dad because her mom and dad didn't, at the time, want anything to do with her. She divorced her parents. She got legally emancipated. And there's so much tension between both of the families.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
You bought her engagement ring at Walmart for $239?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, these legal fees, tell me about them.
Okay. Mary decided not very long before she was due to deliver Tyler Jr., our son, she decided that she doesn't want to be a mom. She decides that she wants to give the baby up for adoption, that she's not ready for this at the time. So my mother went and we had got a loan that we got to take out to fight for custody of TJ. Now, a day before Mary goes into labor, she calls me and said that her dad had beat her up or something and that she wants to come back. So I said, okay, because, you know, in my mind, I didn't know what to do. We had already made all these arrangements and stuff. I said, okay. That night, Mary went into labor, and TJ was born. I was at the hospital with her and stayed with her the whole time while she was in the hospital and didn't leave until she left. At that time, she come back with us and lived with my mom and dad at that time. Now, so what I have is the attorney fees that we had borrowed was $1,500, but we no longer needed those for attorney fees because I didn't need the attorney anymore. So me and Mary kept the money to buy stuff that we needed for TJ and stuff when he was first born, like, you know.
Just a second. How much did you pay the lawyer? Not the loan. How much did you actually pay the lawyer?
I never actually retained him because it happened within just a few days.
Did you pay a lawyer any other money?
Yes, me and Mary, after TJ was born, like I said, she come back and lived with my mom and dad. So her parents filed a petition in court for grandparent visitation rights, and me and Mary didn't like the idea of it because they weren't involved in our...
Mary and I,
I'm sorry, Your Honor. She didn't like the idea of her parents wanting to, boom, become involved just out of nowhere. So we went and retained an attorney. We went and got another loan to retain the attorney, and he filed a response to their petition.
So what happened with the lawsuit over grandparent visitation?
Well, what happened is we never got served our papers or whatever to go to court, and the judge had granted them their petition for the grandparent visitation by default because me and Mary were never notified.
Mary
and I were never notified of the hearing, and we never went.
So did your attorney show up?
No, he never showed up.
So how much did you pay this attorney that didn't show up?
Well, I have paid him $525 was what we paid him.
Now, this $525 was something that you both were, on a suit that you both decided to fight. Is that right?
That's why I'm asking for half, yes.
Okay. You're not living together anymore. You have a baby. The baby is now 1.5 years old?
Yeah, almost 2 years old.
Mm-hmm. And you were 15 when the baby was born, or 16?
I was 15.
Mm. You must have been pleased as punch.
It was very devastating.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I just took the advice of my attorneys, Your Honor. That's all I did.
Morality has nothing to do with what your attorney tells you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tyler Brown wants his ex-fiancée, Mary Brose, to return the engagement ring and pay him attorney fees he spent to get visitation of their 18-month-old baby. She says she lost the ring, and they both shared the attorney fees.
Let's talk about this engagement ring. Where is it?
I seriously don't know. I was swimming one day, and because me and my mom and dad go, my mom and I and my dad go to the lake, and we have a boat and everything, and we went boating one day, and I water ski, and it fell off, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. Now tell me about these legal fees. Did you and this young man decide to fight your parents' request to visit with the baby?
Yeah, we did.
Why?
I don't know. I really don't know anymore.
You don't feel that way anymore?
No, of course not. I don't. I know I made a mistake. I mean, I know I made a mistake. I know that. And I just panicked, basically. I mean, I'm sure if you had a kid at 15, you'd do, panic and stuff. It just scared me a lot.
More than panic?
Yeah, it scared me.
Are you living with your mom and dad now?
No, I live on my own right now.
How do you support yourself?
I work full-time.
Who takes care of the baby?
Actually, Tyler watches him now because we got a court date, and Tyler was supposed to pay, I don't know how much money it was, and the judge said that Tyler could watch because he's not working, and Tyler said that he would watch TJ while I worked.
Why aren't you working?
I'm working, Your Honor.
So who's watching the baby?
I watch the baby during the day, and then usually Mary gets off of work at about 5, and then when I go to work at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, my mom just watches him from like 3 to 5 until Mary gets home. The judge thought that that would be in our best interest.
I think that's a very smart decision.
Your Honor, can I speak?
Sure.
In regards to the babysitting incident, the issue, we had just gone to court and he was supposed to pay child support. She has not seen a penny of it.
Well, the truth is, until he's of age, which is 18, under the laws in every jurisdiction, he's really not responsible for child support. He was responsible enough to make a baby, but paying for it is an entirely different thing. That's America. Now, if I had my way, his father would be contributing some of the support, just as you probably are contributing some of the support to make things work in your daughter's house, take care of this baby. But that's not the way the law is now. That's unfortunate. If I were queen, I would change that. In any event, so we have two issues, and I'm going to rule on those two issues. An engagement ring is given as part of a contract to marry. However, the law is that unless you are of age, you cannot enter into a contract. So we're sort of in a twilight zone here. You gave her this ring as part of a contract, which you couldn't make. So this Walmart ring, wherever it is gone. Now, I do think that there is some merit, sir, in your argument that you should get half of these attorney's fees, half of the $525, because from what the defendant tells me, she was also fighting the lawsuit that involved her parents having visitation with their grandchild.
$260, $250.
Oh, Bert, thank you very much. I don't know what I'd do without you. My mathematician to my immediate left tells me that half of 525 is 260, 250. That's what you have to give him. Understand?
Can I add something
Yeah.
here, too?
Oh, he wants to add.
Well, Your Honor, they had mentioned me not paying their child support. We just went to court 2 weeks ago, and I've just got the order.
Just a minute.
And they're just now starting to garnish my wages. My attorneys had advised me to wait until we get the order. I've just got the order in the mail last week. My support will be starting to be garnished out of my wages this week.
Mr. Brown, you see, when you keep talking, you always say one thing too much. Because I've been nice to you so far.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You needed an order to start paying child support? Your child's almost 2 years old?
No, but...
Just a second. You needed an order? What'd you think your baby was going to eat?
I've helped her out, Your Honor.
How?
She's asked me to buy diapers.
Diapers?
I've babysat for her.
Babysat?
I've did whatever I could for her regarding my circumstances.
Circumstances. If you're old enough to make a baby, you're old enough to be able to support a baby. And you don't wait until you get a court order to do that, sir, if you are a responsible person. I know that you like to think that you are a responsible person.
Well, I offered to give her money, like, for Christmas. She did not want my money for Christmas.
What's Christmas? I'm talking about every week, like you get paid, sir, at your job.
I just took the advice of my attorneys, Your Honor. That's all I did.
Just listen to me. Morality has nothing to do with what your attorney tells you. If you made a baby, morally you are responsible for contributing to that child's support. And it seems to me with your mouth you can say to your lawyer, look, I understand your advice, but the right thing for me to do is to pay child support, is to pay her even voluntarily until a court gives me an order, and I want to do that because it's the right thing to do. Does that have a ring of truth to it?
Yes, it does.
Good! $262.50 for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Back door to your right.
And on the next Judge Judy.
She's perjured herself in court before. She's a liar. She's a proven liar.
Like
you know,
you're
it's
not?
no big deal. I mean, I take care of myself.
Oh,
I think she's
God,
got a lot
whatever.
to learn in life.
Oh,
I'm
what?
so much better off without her.
Like I'm not?
I'm very happy now.
So am I.
Party's on Garay versus Romaniac. Step forward, please.
Jean Garay had an 11-month romantic relationship with Canadian John Romaniak. But when they split, she says he still owed her thousands of dollars.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please, all rise. Sir, quiet, please. Thank you. Judge, this is case number 263 on the calendar in the matter of Garay versus Romaniak. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Don't look so unhappy. It's only money. Right?
That's right.
It's only money. Well, you had an unusual arrangement with the defendant, according to your complaint, and he seems to acknowledge this was your arrangement. You were dating, you became romantically involved, decided to live together.
Mm-hmm.
You're from the United States?
Yes.
And you're from?
Canada.
And this was the arrangement that you made, from my understanding, that while you were in the United States, where you were planning to spend half your time, you would pay.
Mm-hmm.
And while you were in Canada,
I would pay.
you would pay. So you spent 6 months in the States, and you paid.
That's right.
All the expenses.
Yes.
And then you moved to Canada, and you ran out of money.
I paid. I'll explain that a little later.
Okay. So tell me, how did you enter into this rather unique arrangement with funds?
Well, it was just that we were going together last year, and then in November, we got engaged in September. In November, he left, and we went together for a while, and then in April, we got back together again. And in the middle of April, he asked me, would I like to go to Canada to live with him? And, or to stay up there in Canada for the summer months, and then come back, because I worked in Palm Springs. And I said, yes. I said, but how are we going to, or we worked out how we were going to pay for the money and that. And I said, well, while we're here, while we're in the United States, I will pay for everything here. So I paid for his payments on his house insurance, his electric, his gas bills, and everything.
So you were living in his house?
No, I have my own house. We both have a home in Palm Springs.
So that you were paying for your house and you were paying for his house while he was here?
Yes, yes. Okay.
Okay.
So then we left and we went to Canada. We arrived in Canada. We first went to see his daughter, and then we went to a little town called Penticton. So we started looking around and that, and we saw this one house that we thought. And we said, well, Dad, I wish we could get it. And I said, well, look, I will put the money down, the $3,000 down. You pay the payments on it. So that was the arrangements. And then we moved in the house on June the 1st.
This house that you purchased?
The one we purchased in Penticton, Canada. Okay. And we lived in that house. The middle of July, he left me and went to see his daughter for 4 days.
Did he tell you he was leaving?
Yes, he told me the day before that he was leaving the next morning.
Had you had an argument? Had you not been
We had
getting
been
along?
bickering and arguing, and it was just like he had his children there, and I was tired and everything else. But he left and went and lived with his daughter for 4 days. When he came back, he says, that's it. The house is going on the market. He had been to the real estate office already. When he came back, I was at the neighbors. I was so upset and everything else that he had left. So I came home. I didn't know what to do. I just said, I can't live like this. The tension was so bad and everything else. So I left, and I came down back to Palm Springs. My car was in bad condition. He had supposed to fix the radiator. He didn't. I had to keep putting water in it. My air conditioning wasn't working. I had 2 blowout tires.
It was
and
a terrible
emotionally,
experience.
it was a horrible
It was
thing.
a horror.
Go ahead. When I got back, I had to go to the doctors. My friends had to take me to the doctors. My nerves were so bad, and I've been on nerve pills since. All I want is, he gives me my money, I'll sign the house to him, and then I'm finished.
What money are you talking about, Ms.
$5,000.
Well, I
Not
know
all
you-
the other money I've spent, the $5,000.
What's $5,000 for?
The $3,000 are for the house, the money I put down on the house. He can have the house. And also, the rest is right here, what I have paid out. On his house here, all the payments, the house, expenses that I had coming down. I had to stay in a motel, gasoline,
Well, Ms.
my
Garay,
car breaking down.
all those expenses you're not going to get back. You know that. You know that.
But it still comes to $4,845.20. And this is what I have paid out, Your Honor.
Well, what you've paid out is not necessarily something that he agreed to pay you back.
And this is what he has paid out. The bottom amount is American money.
All right, sir, let me hear you.
Your Honor, I don't believe what she's saying.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
Last year, I took her for... Yes, ma'am.
You don't have to believe what she's saying.
Okay.
I got to believe what she's saying.
Last year, I took her for 4 months down to Canada. I paid all expenses, right? I sent her a plane ticket to Winnipeg. That's 3,000 miles away from here. And we toured the whole Western Canada. I took her through the prairies to Banff, Lake Louise, ice fields, and all over.
Who paid for that?
I paid for the whole thing for 4 months, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I promise to give you the best of myself and to ask of you no more than you can give. That's her promise to me.
And later today,
The first time and the last time I've ever met her, she tried running me and my husband off the road because she was, I guess, mad that he was going to stay with me and not her.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Splitting up after an 11-month romantic relationship, Jean Garay now claims John Romaniuk owes her thousands.
Okay, let me ask you this question. So what made you decide that this arrangement, this relationship, wasn't going to work when you went to your daughters?
Because when we got to Vancouver, Palm Springs, we had an argument because every day her man friend phoned for about 45 minutes on the phone while I was there. And I said I didn't like the idea that he phoning every day. So she got mad at me. She said, that's none of your business. So she said, leave the house. So I left. I didn't see her until middle of April.
When you were back in Canada, sir, you bought the house.
I'm coming to that, ma'am.
Get there.
Oh, then middle of April, somehow we got back together.
Shh. You're in the house that
Yes.
you just bought.
Yes.
You decide to go to your children. Why?
Because when my son came over to visit us, my granddaughter spilled a little bit of milk on a rug that we didn't have no furniture or anything like that. So she got mad and she said, your son doesn't know how to bring the children up.
So
and
that's when you got mad.
So I got angry. So I went to my daughter's place, because my daughter's got I have 4 grandchildren, and to spend over there. When I came back, she put the sign of her own on to sell the house. House was for sale. I said, what are you doing? And then beside that, all the payments were...
So don't tell me about payments, because let me tell you what my thinking is, sir. She put down $3,000 towards the purchase price of that house. Now, you have family in Canada. Your son lives there, your grandchildren live there, and you will be going back to Canada.
Yes.
And you love this house that you originally bought.
Yes.
So it seems to me that if you are no longer a couple...
Yes.
That this house is something that shouldn't be binding you together.
No.
Right?
For sure.
Right.
Mr. Romaniuk, what I'm saying to you, sir, is she doesn't want to know you anymore. You don't want to know her anymore.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So you shouldn't have to be bothered with this business. She should be out of the real estate business in Canada, because but for you, she wouldn't be there.
Exactly.
Got it? So you, sir, are going to give her the $3,000 to get her out of the Canada business. You got it? And then if you sell the house for more, she will wish you good luck. And if you sell the house for less and you don't get the $3,000 back, so be it. And if you can rent the house and make a couple of bucks when you rent the house, terrific. And if you want to live there and retire there yourself, you can do that. Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I promise to give you the best of myself and to ask of you no more than you can give. I promise to accept you the way you are. I promise to respect you. I promise to love you in good times and bad times. That's her promise to me. Now I didn't care what I spent because I loved her and I enjoyed every minute with her. That's my
He loved me, but I couldn't walk down the street and look at anybody else because I was going to bed with them all.
And now the next case.
Parties on Newdecker versus Key. Step forward, please.
29-year-old hairdresser Lisa Newdecker is suing her ex-boyfriend, carpenter Christopher Key, 30, for money she loaned him before he met his current wife, Melissa.
Well, I've read your papers. There are a couple of interesting little quirks in these papers that I want to find out about. But basically, Miss Newdecker, this was your boyfriend about 5 years ago.
About 6.5 actually is when I started dating him.
And some 5 years ago, you lent him some money.
Over the course of the time we dated, yes.
How did you lend him this money?
He was short of cash and needed to get miscellaneous items, and I went with him and used my credit cards.
So it was basically credit card bills?
Yes.
And how much altogether was it that he charged at that point?
It was approximately $2,600.
And when you separated, according to these papers, he made a lot of payments.
Yes.
But that he still owes you $870.37.
Approximately, yes.
When was the last time he made a payment?
On October 4th. I received the check about October 7th.
And then he stopped making payments?
Yes.
Why?
Well, in the beginning of the breakup, there was a discrepancy when she came to me with the amount of how much was owed. I didn't remember it totaling up to $2,600, and I told her at the time that I didn't remember it being $2,600, and she insisted that it was.
So when you insist that it was and you say it wasn't, did you look over all the bills?
No,
Why?
because we were separated, it wasn't a matter of me going over and sitting down with her and going over and saying this was mine, that wasn't. She said that it was, and I had figured it to be around $1,500, $1,600, and
Well,
which is a considerable difference.
So why didn't you go over there and look over the bills? That's a $1,000 discrepancy.
We weren't a couple any longer. It just
So what? You weren't a couple. It seems to me it's now more of a business transaction than anything else. You mean you just thought you'd blow it off?
No. I didn't just think I'd blow it off. It was, like I said, I didn't see it that way, and she's seen that it did.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Sometimes men do really dumb things. You always get caught because women are great snoops.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 29-year-old hairdresser Lisa Newdecker is suing her ex-boyfriend, carpenter Christopher Key, 30, for money she loaned him before he met his current wife, Melissa.
She had the papers to show you, sir, what items you purchased, I assume. Do you still have them?
Yes.
Well, take a look. 5 years later, sir, take a look.
It's a list of what all the paperwork is.
Once again, like I said, we were a couple at the time, and a lot of these items on here, if you would look them over, I don't know if she's gave you a list of this.
I have nothing.
Would be considered as, you know, when we lived together, if we went out someplace and I paid, I didn't consider it to be a loan.
What do you mean?
Like, there's an item on here, half the cost of portraits that we had done together.
Just a second. You had portraits done together. And she put down half the cost.
Right.
I paid the full amount on my credit card.
Well, that sounds fair to me. Doesn't that sound fair to you? Did you go and sit for the portrait?
Well, yes, I did.
She's not asking you to pay for the whole thing, just half.
Right. I understand that.
So give me another one.
Sega game.
Sega game.
Oh, sorry, Sega game tapes.
Those yours?
Yeah. They are now. At the time, you know, like I said, we were a couple.
You're a couple. So a Sega game, yours. Go. Well, give me another one.
Compact discs. Did she listen to the music too? I don't know what specific compact discs they are. Building supplies. I don't remember that one. Building supplies.
What are building supplies?
I don't remember exactly what it was for, but it was from Builder Square, and he was a subcontractor. I'm not. So
Which
I would
is
have
true. I
no
was
need.
a subcontractor, but at the same time, building supplies. Was it for something that we did? I remember the place that we lived in. There was a. we were going to put a fence around the place for the guy that we leased from. You know, I mean, there was just different items at different
just
times.
a second. Did you put a fence around the house?
No, we didn't, but the materials
Well, if you
were...
didn't, then what are you telling me the story about?
My point is this, though, Your Honor. When we lived together, the things that she bought, I didn't keep an itemized list, so I can't very well stand here and argue with her and say, well, I bought this and you bought that, so we should be even, because, like I said, when you're in a relationship with somebody, you don't keep receipts for different things that you buy for each other, but she did because she put them on her card. Now, I don't see, whereas, like I said, in a relationship, that you just do that as a couple.
Can I see the things, please?
Or at least I do.
Miss Newdecker, let me look through some of these things. Men's dress clothes for grandfather's funeral.
I didn't remember that she'd bought them. Like I said, of course, I didn't remember what all was on the list.
She's got the list and she's got the bills. You need a muffler and brakes for your car at one point?
I don't remember that either, but I'm not saying it didn't happen. This has been,
Did you have
like I said,
an El
5 years ago.
Camino?
Yes, I did.
There you go. All right, now, so I am assuming for the purpose of this case that originally you owed her the $2,600 and that you made payments and she's kept very careful records of those payments and that all she claims that you owe her is $870. But what I really think you're probably angry about, sir, is that she wrote a letter to you which your wife opened. This is your wife?
Yes.
That created some problems for you?
Yeah, but that had nothing to do with the amount that I owed her. I honestly did not remember those other items, so
okay, well,
I
now,
didn't believe that I owed them.
Well, now you do. So your wife opened this letter, and did that distress you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, step up here. Why did it distress you?
Because she said on the letter that my husband had went to see her 9.5 weeks ago, and I had no idea he was keeping in contact with her because of the first time and the last time I've ever met her, she tried running me and my husband off the road because she was, I guess, mad that he was going to stay with me and not her. We had only been dating on and off for a month.
How long are you married?
2 years now.
Mm-hmm. Everything okay?
Mm-hmm.
Fair?
Yeah.
Okay. You have any children?
Yep.
How old?
She's going to be 21 months.
And that's his baby?
Mm-hmm.
Why'd you have a seat? How come you're still going to this lady to cut your hair?
The purpose for me going to talk to her was because I owed her this money. But I did tell her that I would pay her.
And while you were there, you got your hair cut?
Yeah, I went to her place of business to see her. I don't...
Going to her place of business is one thing. Sitting down and schmoozing and having your hair cut is another thing. That's what really made your wife angry. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Did you charge him for the haircut?
Yeah, I gave him a discount, though.
Should have charged him full price.
I know that now.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Key, sometimes men do really dumb things. I don't know why they do that. They think they can get away with it. You always get caught. You know why? Because women are great snoops. Terrific. They can smell something that isn't right. Go to a barber. Meanwhile, it sounds to me, Mr. Key, that you got more trouble than the $870 that you owe this lady. It also looks to me as if you've got a very nice but very sad wife and a 21-month-old baby. So you better get your act together. You owe her $870.37. Pay her. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. There you are.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I don't know why she's being so ignorant as to take him to court and drag us all the way over here.
It has been 5 years, and like I said, I was wrong about the amount.
Payments, and he didn't want you to find out that he had been in contact with me for the full 5 years.
That's right, because you tried running us off the road.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
Let's go.
I feel kindly towards him. I'm sad to see that his wife has so much control over him. Bye-bye. Nice to meet you.
Party's on Phillips versus Nance. Step forward, please.
Henry Phillips, a 45-year-old nursing assistant from Chicago, is suing his co-worker Tina Nance. Henry says he filed this lawsuit after getting into a heated argument with Tina over her pet cockatoo.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 165 on the calendar in the matter of Phillips versus Nance. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Am I correct, Mr. Phillips, that you and the defendant worked together?
Fortunately, no, Your Honor.
Did you work together?
No.
Well, you work in I couldn't quite figure that out from this complaint. You work in a hospital.
Correct, Your Honor. I am a practitioner RN from Ohio, and I was supposed to do 11 to 7.
Shh. You are a nurse.
Right.
In a hospital.
Right.
What kind of a hospital?
Rehab. Rehabilitation.
Psychiatric rehabilitation?
Alzheimer's, broken body parts, etc.
Do you work in that hospital?
No, ma'am.
Were you a patient in that hospital?
No, ma'am.
Well, how did you come to be in the hospital with him?
I was not at a hospital. Where he was where I was.
Just a second. This is, hey.
Order.
We worked on
Can we
different...
start over?
Okay.
All right, we're going to start over. Mr.
Okay.
Phillips.
Yes.
You and the defendant work at the same facility.
Unfortunately...
The answer is yes or no?
At that particular time, yes.
All right.
But different wings, Your Honor.
Okay, different wings.
Yes.
And you had an argument with her.
No, I did not, Your Honor.
So then why are you here, sir?
I am here because the fact that on my break, I had to go through her unit to get to the foyer, or let's say get to the patio for a cigarette. And earlier that day, I had been hearing the noise of a cat, and I thought the zoo had came in for the older people. And when I went to her wing, I noticed there was a cockatiel there. And I
cockatiel, you mean a bird?
Yes. And I complimented the bird. She wasn't present at the time when I made the compliment.
What did you say about the bird?
How pretty the bird is, how old the bird is, how big he is.
Who had the bird?
There was another employee who had the bird on their shoulder.
Now, this is a large white bird?
Yes, yes. And upon my giving compliments, this lady came out of nowhere, the defendant came out of nowhere, cursing and swearing, and telling me it wasn't a cockatiel, it's a cockatoo, and I should pronounce my words correctly, and she was ballistic. She went ballistic, Your Honor. And
just a second. Let me understand this. You said, what a nice cockatiel.
Yes.
And what you're telling me is she came out of nowhere and was angry because the bird, she said, was a cockatoo.
Right, right. And so I continued to go outside for my cigarette break. Oh, let's say a matter of minutes, between 2 and 3 minutes, this lady came out cursing, swearing, ballistic again. I put the cigarette out, went back onto my unit, and a couple of...
Without telling me the swear words, because I've heard them all, what was the gist of what she was saying to you?
That she just didn't like me.
Had you ever seen her before?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
No.
So then you put out your cigarette, you went back to your unit.
Yes.
And what happened next?
Later on, maybe an hour or so, the supervisor called. And the lady who I was working with, she called me and told me that the supervisor wanted to speak to me over the phone. When I got to the nurse's station, I got the phone call. The nurse was telling me that this lady had called her and told her that I had cursed her out, that I had threatened her, that I had made her life miserable, her time there miserable, and not to go in that area again if I can avoid it. Go around for your next cigarette. So I said, fine, no problem. But I don't know who you're talking about, because she tried to describe the lady to me. I did not know her, so it was hard to describe her to me. But when I realized it was over the bird, I knew who the person was involved. And so between 9 o'clock and 10:30, I went on my second break. And I went around like I had been asked to. When I did, I noticed she, with this fella here, they came on the grounds. This guy came on the grounds with a sleeveless shirt on and short pants. He passed security and 3 units to come looking for me. She brought him to my unit, introduced him to the RNs who were on the unit as her son. Some told me that they were afraid that something was...
Don't tell me what they told you. She introduced them as her son.
Okay.
Tell me what happened with you.
And when after, at 11 o'clock is the end of the shift. Upon my leaving, he and 4 more men got out of a car. He approached me, and he said to me, and I quote, "Man, what is this I heard you saying to my mother? Why are you giving my mother a hard time? My mother, you say you're gonna rape my mother?" And I looked at him like he was crazy. I said, "Look at her. Look at me. What do I want with that?" And I left it at that. And I said, "I can't believe this." I immediately went back into the hospital. I asked the supervisor who I had talked to earlier to call the Evergreen Police Department. She told me, "You call them yourself." Now, by the way, I didn't make it clear, I am agency. I am agency. That means I go wherever I'm needed.
So you don't work for the hospital. You
No.
work for an independent... You work for an independent agency, and they send you to various locations.
Yes, because I work for various hospitals.
So the hospital
as well
said to you, "Listen, you're not our responsibility. If you have a problem, you call yourself." To the police.
Right. No, she really said it out of fright, Your Honor.
So you called the police, sir?
Yes, I went to the nurse's station and I called the police. Immediately, there was 2 squad cars and a paddy wagon.
Just a second. Is that what happened? Is that what you're suing about?
No, I am suing, Your Honor, for... Excuse me for just a minute, Your Honor.
Is that the incident that you're suing over, sir?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Have you told me about the incident now?
Yes, and here's you have a copy of the police report?
I don't have a copy of the police report, sir. I will take a copy of the police report.
Copy. This is the police report, and it states there...
Don't tell me what it states. I can read. What I'm asking you, sir, is have you concluded what the argument was with...
Your Honor, to be honest with you...
the defendant on that day? Because I have...
No, Your Honor. No, I did not. Because, like I said earlier, I do not know this lady, nor do I wish to be affiliated with this lady in any way, shape, or form. And when she told lies, I felt that it was slander. And she herself, it is a known fact that they... It's a known fact that they...
You're suing her for slander, Mr. Phillips.
Yes,
You've got to cut this short, sir.
Yes.
You're suing her for slander. And the slander you say is when she told her son or somebody else that you were going to rape her.
Right, and I also have...
Is that right so far?
Yes, and
Is there any other slander that you're suing her for? Yes or no?
Okay, no, I'm not. No other slanders, but the violation of my civil right was denied. There was an unlawful weapon on the premises, which she had. She was intoxicated as well.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And if I'd have cursed him out, you'd have heard it over here in California, all the way from Chicago.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nursing assistant Tina Nance says she was worried for her safety when her coworker, 45-year-old Henry Phillips, picked a fight with her over her pet cockatoo.
Now you want to tell me your version of what happened, madam?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I work at Advocate Transitional Care Center. I am a CNA, the same thing he is, which is a certified nursing assistant.
How long have you been working there?
I have been there 10 years. I work in the Alzheimer dementia wing. On this date in question, my daughter had her cockatoo. She is a Moluccan cockatoo, okay? He comes back in my wing where I worked in the 600 wing. He was supposed to be in the 500 wing. He come back there to tell me this was not a cockatoo, it was a cockatiel. I said, excuse me, I think I know what this bird is. It upset him and he continued to argue with me that this was a cockatiel and not a cockatoo. So he explained to me that a cockatiel is one and a cockatoo is two or more, okay? I stayed in my wing. This man kept coming through the 600 wing. He did not have to come through the 600 wing. He kept coming through there trying to agitate. This went
No,
on about
tell me,
6 hours.
Tell me what he was saying when you say he was trying to agitate. What was he saying to you?
It wasn't that he said anything to me, Your Honor. He didn't say anything to me when he was coming through, but we knew he didn't have to come through the 600 wing.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. After this went on, I talked to my supervisor, and I explained to her the situation and what this man had said.
Well, what did he say that you explained to your
supervisor? When we were outside, I went out to have a cigarette like he did. I told him if I was going to call you a liar, I would have my facts straight, which was meaning that this is not a cockatiel, it's a cockatoo. He told me to go to the UK. I don't know what that is and where it is. I tried to walk on inside. He told me he was going to mess me up. He was waiting for me. I went in, I talked to the supervisor, I explained to her what had happened and what had been said. I went back to my unit. He continued to come through there so much that my charge nurse called the supervisor and talked to her and told her that he continually come back there to the 600 wing. He was up there in the 500 wing. You could hear everything he was saying from up in the 500 wing. And he kept coming through there. I ignored him. My charge nurse asked that he not come through there again. It was shorter for him to go through his own wing than to be coming through my wing. This man filed a report. In the police report, and I have a copy of it too, there is nothing in there about I told my son that he tried to rape me. He also said in the report, it's in black and white, that I was high or drunk, smelling of alcohol, and was a menace to the institution and should be released. Now, I'd never seen this man one day in my life, to my knowledge, Your Honor. I would not approach somebody not knowing anybody. This man came up to me and just went out of the blue sky trying to tip. If she was a crocodiliac, it wasn't his business. He'd have no business back there in my wing trying to tell me what I was doing. Then this man goes and files a police report. Then he goes and tried to sue me. Nothing in that police report says anything, okay, about a rape. Nothing says anything about a weapon. I had no weapon. It seems to me, since you called the police and you thought I had the weapon, that'd been the first thing you told him. So that would have been in the police report. That was not there, okay? Then he said that I'm drunk. That is not in the police report. So all of a sudden, a day or two later, you go and sue somebody, you come up with some more information that wasn't even there.
I listened to you. Did I listen to you? What's your name?
Michael Johnson.
What were you doing in the hospital that day?
My mother called me, told me that she had gotten into an argument.
Look at me when you talk.
She had gotten into an argument with a man there. She told me that she thought she would be okay, but she wasn't sure because he had threatened to see her later on after work. So I came up there later around the time that she gets off of work, make sure that she's gonna get home safe. I'm standing outside talking to another woman that works there, right? He had come outside the building. Still, I hadn't known that this was the person that she even, you know, was saying that she was scared of. And he walked up to the lady that I was talking to and mentioned to her, did you hear this lady earlier arguing, talking about the bird is this, but it's that? I don't know what either one is.
And you don't care?
Know, no, not really.
Me neither.
And so she said, who? And he told her name, Tina. And she said, Tina in 600? Then that's when I said, well, Tina, well, that's my mother. What's going on, y'all? Y'all having a problem? He looked at me like I turned into a big monster, dropped his bags, ran inside the building, right? She standing outside at the time, so I'm talking to her, and she was like, well, yeah, he was the man he was doing, but I'm gonna be all right. And a couple seconds later, police pulled up like,
All right, why don't you sit down? I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Something I don't understand.
Yes.
Why did you get so aggravated because he called the bird a cockatiel and it was a cockatoo? Why did you get so aggravated?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I hope that I am never put in a hospital by my children and have to deal with two people like you.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Co-workers Tina Nance and Henry Phillips are before Judge Judy because of a fight they got into on the job. They claim the argument started over Tina's pet bird.
Why did you get so aggravated because he called the bird a cockatiel and it was a cockatoo? Why did you get so aggravated?
I wasn't aggravated at that time.
You said you went over and corrected him and said it's a cockatoo.
This was
and a
hours later after we said hearing him up front in the 500 wing, babbling on about this bird, him constantly coming through the 600 wing. You know, this was later on after this had started. I wasn't so much upset about whether he knew what he was talking about in the beginning, but he was sending people. He sent a girl that was working up there in the front, back there to come tell me that he's constantly going on with this is a cockatoo.
Miss Nance, put your hand down, sir. What I'm asking you is, if I believe what you tell me.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you would agree that there's something wrong with him upstairs, right?
Yes.
So why would you have any confrontation with him at all? Why would you say a word to him? You did. You clearly did. You went out there, you had a cigarette when he went out, when he was out there. You engaged him. If what you're telling me is accurate, and you're a nurse who's supposed to handle people who have psychiatric problems, why would you get involved with somebody whose behavior was nutty? Why?
What I tried to do was keep the situation from being explosive. I left him alone. He kept coming to me.
No, you were confrontational. You corrected him.
In the beginning, yes.
In the beginning,
okay.
At all. All right, now, I'm going to ask you the same question, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Just listen to me. You've described conduct to me on the part of Miss Nance that appears to be a little bit nutty.
Yes.
Right? I mean, to get so excited about whether a bird is a cockatiel or a cockatoo or a parrot or a chipmunk, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, but you entered into this discourse with this lady, and I don't understand why, being a professional nurse in a psychiatric environment, you didn't just say,
Your Honor.
This is somebody I don't want to deal with.
Like I told you prior, I don't know the woman, do not wish to know the woman in any fashion. I've paid many compliments. I don't feel that this woman had to act the way she did to pay a compliment. I don't think my life or any verbal abuse should be there when I make a compliment.
What compliment?
On the bird.
You mean that the bird was a nice cockatiel?
Yes, right. And I have made many compliments. No one has ever tried to take my head off.
All right, listen, I'm ready. Ready?
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Phillips, I know that this was an egregious time for you, that it was a very unpleasant day, but not every unpleasant day results in a court suit and should result in taking up time with a court. I don't find that there was any slander that was proven. Put your hand down. You talked in your complaint about rape. I didn't hear anything about rape. I heard about messing you up or better watch out. I'm not even sure that that happened. All I can tell you is what I hear from both of you people is that I hope that I am never put in a hospital by my children and have to deal with two people like you. This case is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thanks to step out.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy. Blood was spilled the night a bail bondsman caught up with a suspect.
You've been in jail before, you've been arrested before, you've had bond posted before. You know the drill.
Real People, Judge Judy.
As you can see, the lady is an habitual liar.
No, I have nothing to say to an illiterate, ignorant person like him. I don't have time to play games. When I want to play, I play with my grandbabies. I don't have time for him.
Party's on Bledsoe versus Bryant. Step forward, please.
28-year-old news producer Robert Bledsoe says his former fiancée, Renee Lynn Bryant, owes him money for past due bills.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 380 on the calendar in the matter of Bledsoe versus Bryant. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir.
You folks were engaged according to these papers and moved into a house together. The engagement didn't ripen into a marriage and you broke up.
Correct.
You say she owes you some money.
She agreed at the time that we broke up to pay the phone bill, which was approximately 80% hers, while she did not work the 3 months while we were engaged and living together, she made numerous calls, and the phone bill equaled almost $500, and she made probably 80% of the bill, and she agreed at that time to pay for that. No, for the phone bill, and then, you know, half of the utilities, half of the rent. She only gave me $940 the entire time after we moved in.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Just a minute.
And she gave me that $940, but the bills were considerably more than that, obviously. I mean, you know, what she should have paid, all told, is $1,371.19. That's if we split the bills in half. But I said, once you just pay the phone bill, she agreed to that. She was going to pay it after her first check from her new job. She had just gotten a job right at the time we split up, and she was to pay me at the 1st of August when she got paid, and she did not. Then she put it on, and she said, I'll pay you the next month. The next month came. She did not. In the meantime, I had to borrow money from my parents in order to pay the phone bill, which was $500, so I could get another phone later. And at that time, she didn't pay in September. She promised me by the end of the month. I called near the end of the month. She told me she had no intention of paying me. She didn't feel she owed me the money, and that I would just have to sue her. Okay. And
my first question to you, Mr. Bledsoe, is this. You say that during the course of the 3 months that you lived together, she should have paid you $1,371.
If we were to have half.
If you were to split the expenses. And she paid you $940.
Correct.
Which leaves $431 if you were to split the bills in half.
Correct.
And you say that she agreed to pay the $500 phone bill in place of that. So she's really paying $69 more than she should have.
However, I also paid one of her truck payments for $277.97 on my credit card, and she was supposed to pay me before the following month, before interest accrued on that amount, and she did not. And then the next month, she had another bill, and she wanted me to do the same thing, charge my credit
Mr.
card.
Bledsoe. So, is what you're saying you forgave everything as long as she paid the $500 phone bill?
It was a settlement. It was nothing more than a settlement.
What I'm asking you is what you're saying that in lieu of the truck payment and the $431,
yes,
that you were prepared to accept the $500 phone bill?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Now I'll hear from you.
Okay, Your Honor, we need to back up because when I agreed to marry Robert Bledsoe, who I loved dearly at that time, he had convinced me that I should quit my full-time teaching job.
I'm not interested in that.
Okay. Well, I moved to Alta Loma, where we rented a house. Okay, he borrowed $1,600 from his mother and father, Mr. and Mrs. Richard Bledsoe. When I received my very last teaching check, which was of $1,400, I gave him $1,200 cash for the deposit. So he gave his parents the $1,200 cash, which left $400 that he had to give them. When things didn't work out between us, okay, I lost my $1,200 deposit.
Well,
but I have to say that I worked the entire time. I was a substitute teacher.
Just a minute.
And I have my pay.
Just a second.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because I read that in the answer, and Mr. Bledsoe, you seem to have left that out, although you do indicate that she paid for 3/4 of the deposit, the security deposit.
She did.
On the house.
Yes.
And that was lost.
Yes.
And that was $1,200?
The security deposit
Yes.
was at $825. Then there was $825 for first month's rent.
Well, let's not count the first month's rent because you lived there.
Right.
Let's talk about the $825.
Yeah.
But we had to come up with, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
She paid the $825.
No. Well, she paid $1,050, and then I paid $600, which equaled $650. $1,650, which was the full move-in.
So she paid more than you did.
Oh, yes.
How much more?
At $400.
Okay, so she paid $400 more than you did, which she lost.
She lost that, yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I cannot prove that I gave him cash, and that's a sorry thing that I didn't get receipts from my fiancé when we were going out because I assumed that we were going to be married, and in the course of being married, that it would all wash out in the end.
And later today,
Did you ever tell your sister that this was a gift?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
She probably can't even come today and look me in the eye and say that. That's why she's not here.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robert Bledsoe wants his former fiancée, Renee Lynn Bryant, to repay him for past due bills. Renee says he made her quit her job to move in with him.
Well, it seems to me, Mr. Bledsoe, that what's fair is fair. If she lost $400 more than you did, she has to be given credit for that. Don't you believe so?
Well, no, because I offered her at the time that we were going, we were about to split up. We agreed to stay together even after we agreed to leave the house. And we had to leave the house just because I had given them a check to pay for the rent that month in July, but I didn't have the funds. She only gave me $200 to cover that. She was unable to pay her half of the rent that month.
Now,
however, I was able to pay my half of the rent.
But that's my next question to you, Mr. Bledsoe, because I read your papers very carefully, sir. You say the last month that you were there, she gave you $200 towards the rent. You wrote out a check for the entire rent, gave it to the landlord. And how much was the entire rent?
$825.
But then you stopped payment on that check.
I had to stop payment on that.
What did you do with the $200 that she gave you?
Oh, I began paying bills. I began paying the bills. Most of the bills.
Just a minute. We've already talked about the bills. The bills were the original $1,371 that you said that you had all together. What did you do with her $200? Did you give it back to her?
No. She told me I could keep it.
Well, so far, let me understand
because
this,
she knew
Mr.
that
Bledsoe.
she owed me money.
Right, but she can't keep owing you money if she keeps giving you money, sir. She gave you $200, all right?
That's
so
part
far,
of the 940. That is not in addition to the 940. That is part of the 940, the $940.
Oh,
I have just added up everything she ever gave me.
So you are giving her credit. The $940 includes the $200?
Correct.
But it doesn't include the
four.
deposit.
It doesn't include the $400.
And it doesn't include the money that I made as a substitute teacher working for Altaloma, Cucamonga, and Riverside that I gave him cash.
Yes, it does.
Well, just a second.
All you
just
gave
a
me
second.
was
You
cash.
can't prove that you gave him the cash.
You can't
Just
prove
a
that I didn't
second.
Excuse me, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
All right. So we have $940, and I'm adding on to the $940 $400, which is the deposit.
However, it should only be $200 more because if I was to pay half, I only needed to pay $200 more.
She lost $400.
Right.
She lost $400. You lost.
I lost $200.
But you're already
Or wait.
getting. Just a second. You're already getting credit for that, sir.
No, she lost $600. She lost.
She paid $400 more than you did.
Right. She paid $400.
$400 more than you did. That's all that I'm interested in. Well, that evens out the $1,371. So now all we're down to is truck payment, $277.97. Do you owe him that?
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
Because I assumed since I had paid more the deposit that was his way of giving me back some of the money.
No,
But
I've given you credit for that.
Okay.
I've given you credit
I gave
for that.
him, you see, you're right. I cannot prove that I gave him cash, and that's a sorry thing that I didn't get receipts from my fiancé when we were going out because I assumed that we were going to be married. And in the course of our relationship of being married, that it would all wash out in the end. And I did get a full-time job, and, you know, obviously things
All
didn't
right.
work out.
Shh, listen to me.
Yes, Your Honor.
$277 is for the truck payment. It didn't work out, so you have to pay for your own truck payment.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you had a $500 phone bill. Show me the $500 phone bill. Is this $1,300 that you gave me, including all the utility bills and everything else?
And yes.
Well, then it includes the
rent.
telephone.
Yes. I didn't say that it didn't.
I thought you had
I'm sorry.
an ending bill of $500,
No, when I
sir.
said utilities, I
Well,
was
I've already
including
taken
phone.
care of the utilities.
Mhm.
It's a wash. The utilities and her additional $400 plus the money she gave you is a wash. So she owes you for the truck payment, $277.97, not $1,100. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $277.97. Thank you. That's all.
Bodies are excused. You may step out.
I just want to forget about it all. But I want to say, you ladies out there, get your receipts for our cash.
And now the next case.
Bodies on Mackins versus Richardson. Step forward, please.
Hairdresser Terry Mackins is suing her brother-in-law, George Richardson, for a house loan and money for a stove. George says Terry is retaliating because he beat up her brother.
This is your brother-in-law?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
And he is married to your sister?
Yes, he is.
According to your complaint, you lent your brother-in-law and your sister some money.
Yes.
For house. And also sold them a stove.
Yes.
They refused to pay you for either.
As of this date, yes.
So first tell me, how much was this loan towards the house and how it came about?
I loaned my sister and my brother-in-law $700. My sister and my brother-in-law called me and asked me if I would lend them this money so they can go to closing on their home. I got cash. I got a check from my credit union account, got it mailed to me, and I got it cashed. And I gave them the cash money for them.
So far, is that correct?
Yes.
And in December, we had bought our own home. And our home, in our kitchen, we wanted to do our kitchen over again. We had a brand new kitchen. And we got rid of the cabinets, and we sold my brother, my brother-in-law and my sister the stove for $150, which was to be payable as soon as they got the money as well. So that's the $850 I'm asking
Well, tell
for.
me how the sale of the stove came about.
My brother-in-law was over our house, and we had talked to him about we were getting rid of certain things in our kitchen. And we told him we were selling the stove and how much we wanted for it, and he said he wanted it. And Reginald Bear, who's my witness, delivered the stove to their house.
Okay. So, what's your story?
Well, my story is the $700 was at first given on a, well, we actually told her we was going to pay her back when we had a lawsuit and we was getting ready to settle. And we
What
said,
kind of lawsuit?
A car accident. And we were going to pay her back the money that she loaned us for the house. And Terry told us it was a gift. She gave us this money.
He's lying, Your Honor.
Just a second.
No. She gave the money to my wife. My wife initially told her that we were going to pay her back. And then she came back about, what, day later, because she calls every day, every morning at 7 o'clock, and she said, forget about the money, it's a gift. It's a housewarming gift. That's what she told my wife.
Just a second.
Sure.
Where's your wife today?
She's home. She's disgusted with the whole thing.
Just a second. You just told me that the conversation that she had allegedly was with your wife.
Right, and she...
Well, then I'm
converted
not
me.
hearing that conversation because that's hearsay.
So is this agreement with us giving it back to her.
No, sir. Shh. Sit down. I'm not ready to hear you yet.
No problem.
No, sir. You just acknowledged that your original agreement with her, when you called to ask her for the money, was that you were going to pay her back.
Right.
And according to your sister-in-law, she has lent you money before, and you have paid her back.
Plenty of times.
And you have paid her back.
This was a gift, Your Honor.
No, no.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's lying.
And no.
No, don't speak to him. You speak to me. Hey, sir, speak to me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terry Mackins wants the money back she gave her brother-in-law, George Richardson. George says she's only suing because he beat up her brother.
Listen to me, sir. You're not following what I'm saying to you.
I completely
You
understand.
first said to me that it was a loan. And you agreed
No,
to pay her back.
I never. Okay.
And you agreed to pay her back. That was your understanding.
Right.
She gave you the money, and I assume you and your wife went to the closing on the house with her money, right?
Yes, we did.
And when you did that, the intention was to pay her back.
Right.
Now you tell me that she had a conversation with your wife who was not present. And your not present wife told you that it was a gift. That's what you just told me.
That's exactly what I said.
Right. Did you ever tell your sister that this was a gift?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
She probably can't even come today and look me in the eye and say that. That's why she's not here.
That is why she's not here.
Absolutely.
That's not
Absolutely,
true.
that's why she's not here, because...
True. My sister, my wife is disgusted with my sister-in-law because this whole thing is all just a payback thing because I beat her brother up.
Why did you beat her brother up?
Because he assaulted me.
Your Honor, this is why we're here in court today.
Right.
This is why my brother-in-law is not paying me back, because I called him up the day after he fought my brother, and I kind of like told him about himself because what he did was not necessary. The whole thing is, George and Wendy owes me money, and I would like my money back. I don't have $700 to give nobody. I work very hard for my money, and I never told Wendy it was a gift.
Stove. You had the stove in your house. How did the stove get to your house?
The Reginald brought it over to my house.
Oh, okay. Now tell me under what circumstances Reginald brought it over to your house.
Reginald called me up and said, though, you want the stove? I said, well, look, I haven't talked to Wendy. Wendy's my wife. I said, I haven't talked to Wendy because we have gas. And I said, we have to decide, you know, if she want to convert. So he says, well, listen, I'm trying to get the stove out of the house. Can I bring it over? So I said yes. I didn't consult the Wendy because Wendy was at work. So next day he brought it over. And he brought it and I got an enclosed porch in the front of the house, so it's set on the porch. And so I finally got around and talking to Wendy about the stove. So Wendy decided, we both decided that we didn't want to convert to electric. So I called them. I called them numerous times. Come get the stove. I even had a cookout at my house. Reggie was trying to make me buy the stove. No, man, you got to buy the stove. I'm like, what's up with this? So I called them, told them, come get the stove.
He's lying.
And no.
No, don't speak to him. You speak to me.
Listen to your answers,
sir, speak to me.
I called them, told them to come get the stove. They would not come to get the stove. The stove stayed on my porch running for almost 8 months. So my wife stayed on my back about, get the stove off the porch. I got a little 2-year-old. He's climbing up on the range and pulling the grill out and everything.
You sold it.
Right. So I sold the stove. I sold the stove for $30 just to get my wife off my back.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Reginald, now you step up, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how are you related to the plaintiff?
That's my fiance.
Okay, so now tell me about the stove.
When I took the stove over there, I told him, you don't have to rush and pay me the $150, but I charged him $150 for the stove and $100 to install it because I am a licensed electrician.
Did you install it?
No, I did not. What I did,
Well,
I dropped the stove off
Well, how
on
could
his
he
porch.
use it if you didn't install it?
Well, I told him when he's ready to get it installed, I would install it for him. So, in return, I took the stove over, put it on the porch, left it there. After the occasion with the fight with him and her brother, we called him up and told him we would like to be paid for our $700 as well as our $150 for the stove. The gentleman turned around.
All right.
He
Sir,
turned around.
Sir, what I've done is I have now warned you. This is the 4th time. And I've gotten tired of warning you. So, $700 is what you owe them for the loan, and $150 for the stove. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $850. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's still lying.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Wendy,
Like I
trust
said,
me,
Wendy,
I'm a benefit. I've been with Wendy
you're
for
not
15
with him,
years.
If you're not with him, and
15
if you
years.
need something,
Your
you can come to me.
your so-called-
Don't never ask me
your
nothing as
so-called
long as you have this guy with you.
He's elite. Your so-called fiance.
Keep the
He's
parasite,
elite. You
keep
claim
the
everything
parasite,
she
keep
owns.
the parasite.
Everything she owns. If it wasn't for her, you still be wearing polka dots and stripes.
He's elite.
And what are you wearing?
I'm matching.
Polka dots and
You're
stripes.
damn right.
Hello.
They damn right. And it's
Thank
all
you.
name brand.
on Rashad versus Hayes. Step forward, please.
19-year-old loan officer Amy Wishard says she's pregnant with her ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old mechanic Ken Hayes' baby, and he owes her money. He says he owes her nothing.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 328 on the calendar in the matter of Wishard versus Hayes. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir.
Oh, Miss Wishard. You have a problem.
Yes.
You had an on-again, off-again relationship with this gentleman.
Yes.
According to these papers, mostly off.
Yes.
But for a fleeting moment while it was on, you got yourself pregnant. Now it's off, right? What are you laughing about? Shouldn't do that by yourself, right? And to add insult to injury, he owes you money.
Yes.
So, why don't you tell me what he owes you money for?
He owes me around $660. In January, we got an apartment together under the pretense that he was going to get a salary job. He had been working for his brother, and it was kind of a partnership relationship. So if they didn't get paid, they didn't get paid.
How long had you been together up until that point?
Around 2 years.
And were you living together before that?
For about 3 months prior to that, but not before that.
Had you discussed getting married?
A few times.
Did you do the talking or did he do the talking?
I guess it depended on the situation. You know, when I felt like I wanted to, I would talk to him, and usually when he would screw up, then he would talk to me about it.
What do you mean when he would screw up?
When, you know, when he had done something wrong and knew he was at fault, then he would say, oh, baby, you know, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to be with you forever. Let's get married.
He actually used the M word.
Yes, yes.
Spending the rest of my life with you, wanting to be with you together, I've heard a lot since I've been sitting here. The M word I haven't heard so much. So you took this new apartment.
Yes.
You both signed the lease.
Yes.
And what happened?
We got 2 weeks free rent because we moved in the middle of January. And then it was coming time for rent to be due at the beginning of February. He had not gotten a salary position with his brother or with any other company. And I told him that he either needed to get the rent money together or get out. And then I said, no, I don't even want to bother with that. Either you need to leave or I need to leave, and we need to settle up on the lease.
Was it the financial frustration that finally
that
got
was
to you?
part of it, and just he wasn't owning up to his responsibility. I would have never moved in the larger and more expensive apartment if he had just told me, no, Amy, I'm not gonna get a salary position. I'm gonna keep working for my brother. Then at least I would have known, and it would have been up to me at that time if I wanted, you know, to move on further or drop it there. But
what kind of work do you do?
I'm a loan officer for a mortgage company.
So either he was going to leave or you were going to leave.
Right.
What happened?
And I had decided that I would leave. I went and got my things, and we agreed that we were going to come in a few days later and sign papers for him to take over responsibility of the lease. Then, prior to when we were supposed to go in and sign the papers, they called me and said he had moved all his things out, which was untrue because we had already decided that I was going to leave and he was going to take over the lease. I even told him I would pay that half for that month where he could find a roommate, and he said there were too many painful memories and he just couldn't stay there.
So $660 is half of the rent for February?
Well, we had to break the lease. So they charged us that month's rent, plus they charged us another month's rent, you know, for breaking the lease, plus 2 months utility fees. And I have all the fees that they...
So it all comes to $660?
His half.
And what else do you say he owes you for?
And then I loaned him $450. Later on that year, he said he needed to pay some other kind
Well, when did this happen?
In January.
Of '97?
Yes.
So after you broke up and after everything else, you lent him more money?
Yes.
Amy!
Yeah. Well, we were on speaking terms at the time and on a friendship basis.
So what did he need this money for?
He said he needed to pay lawyer's fees or court fees for some other case he was going to.
What other case?
I think it might have been a custody battle. I'm not sure.
And you gave him the money?
Yes.
Do you have proof that you gave him the money?
I have a check that I wrote out to cash. I didn't write it to him.
Well, somebody had to cash it.
That he cashed at my bank.
Oh. Mm-hmm. And when did you find out you were pregnant?
In August.
So after you broke up in January, you were a little more than just friends.
Yeah, later on. Yes, ma'am.
But then you broke up again?
Well, before I found out I was pregnant, we were trying to work things out. And prior to me being pregnant, I had taken a trip, and I told him, he knew I was going, but I didn't call him before I left, and he was upset over that. So when I told him I was pregnant, he said that he wasn't the father and that he didn't take any responsibility.
Well, you'd be able to establish that if you have to after the baby's
Well,
born.
later on he said he was, but...
In any event, later on,
right.
you'll be able to do blood tests, and there won't be any issue with regard to that, if that's what you want.
Right.
Okay. I'm ready.
Prior to signing the new lease, we were going through some problems, and I asked Amy, I kept asking over and over, if she's not comfortable with it, let's don't sign this new lease. She kept saying that she was, so therefore we wouldn't sign the new lease.
What do you mean? That's all very soft.
What?
You were going through some problems. You mean emotional problems? You were fighting? What do you mean?
She wasn't comfortable where we were at. I don't think she was comfortable with me. Just things of that nature. And I kept asking her, you know, before we make this next move, I want you to be comfortable. And she kept assuring me that she was. So we made this next move. And before I moved out, she moved out. In the same day, or it may have been the next day, I'm not sure, she moved back in. So then, the next day, we had this discussion where more or less she kicked me out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Why would I just give him $450? He said, yes, I will pay you back.
I don't even remember getting the money.
And later today.
And I told her that she needed to bug off. That's just my words. Because that was my son. I carried him 9 months, and she had nothing to say.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amy Wishard claims Ken Hayes owes her for a loan and a broken lease. Ken says he doesn't owe the soon-to-be mother of his child anything.
Let's make it easy. If a relationship doesn't work out, this doesn't look like the kind of lady, and you've known her a long time, who conned you into going into another apartment in order to throw you out so that 2 weeks later she'd have to move out. That doesn't make sense. She's an intelligent woman, right?
Yes, she is.
So what she was hoping for was that your relationship would work. And it seems to me, from what you told me, sir, that you both have tried to make it work even after that February when you were no longer together, right?
Right.
So she shouldn't have to bear the full financial responsibility for the apartment and for the lease and breaking the lease, right? That sounds fair, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Good. Now let's talk about this $450, this check for cash for $450. What'd you need the money for?
As looking back on it, Your Honor, we're in a relationship, and in a relationship, you exchange gifts, money, things of that nature. I never looked at it as being a loan. I have to pay it back.
What did you need the money for, sir, is my question.
I don't recall. I don't even remember getting the money.
Were you involved in some sort of litigation in April?
No.
Do you have a child?
Yes.
How old is your child?
She's 5 years old.
Had you been to court with the child's mother?
No.
Around April?
No.
Were you having problems with visitation?
No.
Well then, what did you need the money for, sir?
I don't recall. I don't even remember getting the money.
Your Honor, he came to my place of work. I was working at a bank at the time. Amy, I need to borrow $450. I promise you I'll pay you this back in the next couple days. I said, Ken, are you sure that's a lot of money? I can't just be throwing around $450. Why would I just give him $450? He said, yes, I will pay you back. And when I spoke to him about the incident with the rent, I said, and you owe me $450, and he said, I haven't paid you back for that yet. Now, why would he say that if it was a gift? He knew it was a loan.
When is your baby due?
May.
Are you still working with your brother?
Yes.
You finally making a living?
Yeah. Thank you.
When this baby comes, and I assume when you are satisfied beyond any shadow of a doubt that this baby is yours, you're going to pay support for the baby?
Yes.
Great. We're going to start now by filling back up her little nest egg for money that you owe her. That's $660 and $450 that she loaned to you in April of 1997. Grand total is $1,110. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now, the next case.
All parties on Davidson versus Davidson. Step forward, please.
Banker Bobby Davison is suing her ex-husband, Louis Davison, for half of their son's funeral costs.
You folks have been divorced for a long time. How many years?
30, approximately.
And sadly, your son was killed in an automobile accident when he was in his 30s.
Yes.
How old was he? 30?
36.
And according to your complaint, Ms. Davison, your former husband agreed to pay for half of your son's funeral expenses.
That's correct.
And then he reneged on that agreement and, according to him, gave you $1,000 towards the expenses. Is that right?
Yes.
He has a defense that is interesting. So why don't you tell me about the arrangements that you started to make for your son and how your former husband was involved?
Well, at the time that I received word that my son had passed, and we went to the funeral home to make the arrangements for the burial, it was agreed on that we would go 50-50 on the funeral expenses.
Well, according to these papers, let me stop you for a moment.
Sure.
You agreed in the funeral director's office that each of you would be responsible for half the bill. But then, according to these papers, the funeral director said that since your son was married, you had no right legally to make the arrangements because even though you're his parents, you were not his next of kin. His wife had to approve the agreement. Is that right? There was another meeting with the funeral director.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
And who was present at that meeting?
His wife, my ex's wife.
That's you?
Yes, ma'am. And myself.
You weren't there?
No, I was not.
Why weren't you there?
I was working.
Okay, so you sent your wife
So
and
I
your
sent my wife to represent me.
Fine. And what happened at that meeting?
Well, at that meeting is when the Mrs. Davison, Sue Davison, and Tammy and I went in to review the casket that we had picked out. Then Sue Davison said that we should change it to a wooden box, that her father was buried in a pine box, and why couldn't we bury it? And I told her that she needed to bug off. That's just my words. Because that was my son. I carried him 9 months, and she had nothing to say or do with my funeral arrangements that was being made. Because Tammy financially was not able to take care of the expenses. And it was between my ex and myself.
So what happened?
So after a few choice words, with Mrs. Davison, Sue Davison, she said that she would give Tammy $1,000, and Tammy was to do with that whatever she wanted to do with it. And so Tammy, in terms, handed it over to the mortician, and that was applied to the funeral expenses.
Is that pretty much the story, sir?
So far, yes.
And how much were the expenses in total?
I don't have exact total, but Mr. Davison's share would be $23,59.67.
Now, does that include the $1,000 that he gave you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
So you've given him credit for that?
Yes,
so that
sir.
the funeral was
approximately $6,500,
$6,600.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Hopefully, when people come to court, they can reach some sort of resolution, even without somebody banging them over their heads.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bobby Davison wants her ex-husband, Louis Davison, to pay his share of their son's funeral costs. Louis says Bobby changed the arrangements at the last minute, making the funeral too expensive.
Okay, Mr. Davison. Initially, you agreed to share the expenses with your former wife. And now you said no. Tell me why, sir.
Okay, originally, if I could approach you and show you this, or somebody could show you this, that when we were talking to the mortician, or the gentleman who was making the arrangements, that when he found out that Tammy was still legally married to my son, that everything that we had done to that point was null and void.
Okay, may I see the paper that you have, sir?
Okay, and this is the original one that we had signed up to that point where he found out.
I'd like to see it, please.
I'll just take that knife. That was the original form that we had signed.
Okay, so the total of what you originally agreed to was $36.31. Is that correct?
At that point, yes.
Now, Ms. Davison, the original agreement that your husband said, I will pay for half, was for $3,631. At your second meeting, you chose to spend $6,500, according to you.
Well, at the time, all the funeral expenses was supposed to be 50-50.
That's not what I'm asking you.
I know you're not, but that does not include an open and closing of the grave, which I had to go out and pay myself.
How much was it to open and close the grave?
$1,024.
Now, Mr. Davison, did you understand, sir, that there would be an additional cost to open and close the grave?
At that time, no, I did not.
Well, I'm going to ask you an interesting question, because this is more of a moral question than a legal one. If you had known, I don't want you to try to remove yourself from where you are right now, but if you had known at the time that to open and close the grave was going to cost $1,025, would you have agreed to pay for half of that?
I would agree to help, yes.
Okay. That still, Miss Davidson, brings the total to $4,600, not $6,500. He agreed to pay $36.31. So I believe that an argument can be made that you obligated yourself for the amount of $3,600. You only paid half of $3,600 or $1,800, and you only gave her $1,000, which means minimally you owe her $800 for the expenses of the funeral. The only thing that I want to ask you, Mr. Davison, the original amount that you agreed to contribute did not include the opening and closing of the grave. It was only for the funeral director. And I'm asking you if today you are prepared to contribute something towards the opening and closing of the grave.
Okay, if the circumstances at the time, if, right now, to answer your question,
You'll feel better if you say yes.
Well, there's no question I'd feel better, but that was not the problem.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Hopefully, when people come to court, they can reach some sort of resolution, even without somebody banging them over their heads. I think that morally, if not legally, you should be responsible for seeing to it that your son received an appropriate burial. And certainly that includes opening and closing the grave. That's what the cost was.
Yeah.
Okay? What you originally agreed to, I am going to portion in half. And I'm also going to portion half of the cost of internment to you because you've consented to do that, which I think is the right thing. You'll sleep better, Mr. Davison.
I haven't been properly sleeping.
You'll sleep better. So, Ms. Davison, I'm giving you a judgment in the amount of $1,327. Thank you. That's all.
Please excuse, you may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
My husband's ex-wife, Bobby Davison, omitted my name and my 4 children, whom my husband and I have raised for 24 years. out of the obituary. We weren't included at all. Like 24 years didn't matter.
It was just an oversight if it was left out.
I hope I never see her again in my life.
Feelings is mutual.
Parties on Kennedy versus Gadanian. Step forward, please.
Tracy Kennedy, a 28-year-old manicurist, claims her business neighbor, Bijan Gadanian, scammed her into moving out of her premises so he could move in. She says she was promised $3,000, but never received it.
Order, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 107 on the calendar in the matter of Kennedy versus Gadanian. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir.
All right, well, this is an interesting story. Miss Kennedy, you had a beauty salon that was there prior to the defendant's business moving right next door. Is that right?
His business was actually there, but he just bought it. There was the first owner there when I moved in.
But he was not there
Right.
when you moved in.
Right.
You have a beauty salon, he has a...
Paging and cellular service business.
Okay. And according to your complaint, you were in this salon for about 6 months when the defendant approached you and said that he was interested in expanding his space.
Right. I was in there for a year, and he had been in there about 6 months when he approached me.
Okay, so after a year, he approached you and said...
He pulled me aside on the front porch and said, "Can we talk for a few minutes?" I said, "Sure." He said that he was, wanted to know how long I intended on being in my space.
And how long was your lease, Miss Kennedy?
I didn't have a lease. I was month to month. But I did plan on being there for quite some time.
How much was the rent on it?
$525 a month.
Okay. So the defendant approached you, according to your papers, and said, "I'm interested in expanding my business. Would you like to move?"
Right.
And you said what?
I said I had no intentions of leaving. Then he said I would be willing to compensate you to leave, move your business elsewhere. And I said, you know, let me think about it for a little while, and I'll get back to you. But I really had no intentions at the time of leaving. I had only been there a year.
So?
So I said, let me think about it. 2 days later, I came back to him, and I said, yeah, I think I want to take up your offer. I think that instead of moving someplace else, I'm just going to, you know, go to work for someone else. The market's really hard to find someone in my business right now, and, you know, I would love to just work for someone else for a while. And I said, you know, I need enough money to pay my bills.
What bills?
The loans that I had on the salon. I had one from the bank, and I borrowed a couple $1,000s from my husband's parents.
So how much did you ask him for?
$3,000 was the agreed amount.
And did he agree to giving you $3,000 if you would move?
Yes.
So he was really buying you out of your space, according to you.
Basically, right.
And what happened, according to your papers,
right,
which I read very carefully, was that eventually you were told that when he went to negotiate his lease with the landlord, he said to him, "I'll give you half of what she was paying in rent."
Right.
The landlord said, "Absolutely not."
Right. He then came next door to me and said the deal's not going to go through, but by then I had already given my girls notice and found another place.
How many employees did you have?
I had 2 girls at the time.
Okay. Ultimately, you did move into that space, sir, is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And you didn't give her the $3,000?
There was no agreement about $3,000, Your Honor.
Well, I'd like to hear your version of what happened.
Okay, I'll be happy to. Actually, she's right. I approached her. We casually asked her what her plans are, and told her about my intentions to move. I need a larger place. And at that point, she says, "Well, I've been thinking of moving. My business is not doing well, and I'll give you an answer. I got to talk it over with my husband. I'll give you an answer." And then a couple days later, she approached me and said, "Yes, indeed, I've talked it over, and I've decided to move." And she asked me for compensation. I said, "Tracy, this is not the right time to talk about anything at all.
No.
I don't even know."
No. Just a sec. Shh. Miss Kennedy. Shh.
I don't even know if I can reach an agreement with the landlord. So please let me talk to the landlord, see if I can reach any agreement with him. And then if there is anything to talk about with you, we'll talk about it.
That doesn't sound right to me, sir.
No, that's not what happened.
Just a second. That doesn't sound logical to me, sir. So what you're telling me is the amount of $3,000, that figure, never came up in your discussion with her?
She threw that number at me. I'm not
So
denying
it did.
that.
So
Yes.
it did come up in your discussion. And you asked her if she would like to relocate because you wanted to expand your business.
That's not in the context it came up, though, Your Honor.
Well, you did, in fact, expand your business into her space.
That's correct, yes.
So this is what we have so
Yes.
far. We have your discussion with her about your wanting to expand, her throwing out a figure, which you acknowledge that she threw out a figure of $3,000. Your statement, well, it's not a good time to talk about it now. I have to talk to the landlord first. Now, did you speak to the landlord?
Yes.
And what was that conversation with the landlord, sir?
At that point, I offered a total of close to
Not a total. I'm not interested in total. I'm interested in what you are telling me under oath that you offered the landlord for her store to
I
rent.
did not offer landlord a particular price for her space. I
Offered for total.
For total,
Oh, okay.
my
We're going to
space.
get... I understand.
I'm sorry.
How much were you paying for your store alone, sir?
$550, $551.
For your store alone?
That's correct, ma'am.
And what did you offer the landlord for both places?
$900.
So, in effect, you offered the landlord substantially less than what she was paying
That's correct, yes.
after she had given notice that she was leaving.
That's correct, yes.
So now you got the landlord by the throat.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Honestly, I had no participation in her moving out.
I'm going to give him a copy of my book.
And later today,
he advertised our show as Playboy Girls of Rock, as Playboy. And they were going to see a bunch of beautiful women in bras and panties.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tracy Kennedy says she moved out of her manicurist salon because Bijan Gidanian promised her $3,000. She says he never paid her and the whole deal was a scam.
The landlord has a tenant that's given him notice. He's got somebody else ready to move in right away. And you were going to get a bargain because you were going to get 2 stores for $900. Was your store the same size as his?
Bigger.
Bigger. So you were going to get her store for $400. You were paying $550 for yours, so the landlord said to you at that point, forget it, right?
Your Honor.
At that, just a second. We understand each other, this gentleman and I.
I'm glad someone does.
We understand each other, so don't we?
Yes,
So
Your
the
Honor.
landlord said to you, forget it, at first. Then you moved out.
Right.
You moved out in June, correct?
Yes.
When did you move in?
July 1st.
And what rent did you pay?
About $950, close to $1,000.
You're a
Let's
good
say $1,000.
businessman. Don't, no, not let's
No,
say $1,000. Sir, you're a businessman. You know exactly what you pay for rent in this business. So let's not say about the $950. Exactly what do you pay in rent?
Your Honor, the only reason I say about, because the rent itself is the rent, but there are some other triple nets and what have you that figures in that I'm not quite sure. That's what I'm saying about. That's why I say about $1,000. I'm sorry?
Rent.
The rent, the base rent is $950.
Rent!
$950, Your Honor.
So you still got the landlord for a couple of bucks, but he didn't give you the lease right away. Did you sign a lease with him?
Yes, I did, Your Honor. I had a year lease with him.
And you signed another lease for the second space
That's correct, Your Honor.
at a monthly rent of $950.
That's correct, Your Honor. So
So the landlord lost out. So So where's her money?
There was no money agreed upon, Your Honor, to begin with. She did not have to move. Honestly, I had no participation in her moving out.
No.
All I had with her was just a casual conversation for her, what are your plans? And she acted upon that.
I'm going to give him a copy of my book. Sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
I come from an old business family. My grandfather was in the appliance business years and years ago, and he's been long dead. I adored my grandfather. He liked to call himself a shrewd businessman. Some of the people that he dealt with sort of dubbed him with another name. So I'm aware of what you did. This story has a common sense approach to it. You wanted to expand. This lady was under the impression you were going to take over the same rent that she took over. Nobody would be hurt. She had evidently had enough of being an entrepreneur, enough of being in business by herself. She said, if I can just get out with these loans, I'll go and work for somebody else. And here comes the perfect opportunity for her to do that. And it's a perfect opportunity for you to more than double your space at a lot less rent. Because once she gives notice, the landlord is up a tree. So the only one that comes out ahead in this business is you. That's smart, but not fair to Miss Kennedy. All right, not difficult. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff, who I believe, in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back door to your right, please.
I'm sorry that the judge did not see the con artist in disguise.
She saw you, exactly. If you hadn't made me an offer,
she could
I
have
wouldn't
stayed
have
there.
left.
She could have absolutely stayed there and
No.
forgotten about
No.
leaving.
The judge was
She had
right.
no reason to leave.
You're right. She saw the con artist. Judge Judy's the greatest.
And now the next case.
Parties on Russell versus Heinold. Step forward, please.
32-year-old entertainer Karen Russell is suing booking agent Chuck Heinold for non-payment of a performance fee. Heinold says the act wasn't what was promised.
Miss Russell, according to your complaint, you are an entertainer and have a group of entertainers that you work with. You dance and sing. You have a review kind of act. Is that right? According to your complaint, you performed in Bakersfield and you weren't paid.
That's
Is that
correct.
right?
Mm-hmm.
The defendant is not the person who didn't pay you. The club, according to these papers, stopped payment on the check.
This is true.
So why are you suing him? Who is he and why are you suing him?
This is the booking agent, Chuck Heinold. In my contract with the casino is with him representing me.
With who representing you?
Chuck Heinold representing me.
Let me see your contract. Go ahead.
And when we were doing business with Chuck, he knew at that time the type of show that we were producing. And my biggest complaint is that if we were represented properly, we probably wouldn't be in this situation.
Just a second. Miss Russell, one of the things I didn't understand from your complaint is he is your agent.
Booking agent.
He is your agent.
That's correct.
He didn't get paid. He didn't get the check from the club to give to you. So how could he give it to you? Because it was stopped.
Because he misrepresented us. The casino was not happy with the show. And basically, when I spoke to him the Friday evening, we had technical problems due to the casino's staging and equipment. He told me, don't worry, no matter what, you will be paid. If it has to come out of my pocket, you will be paid.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I'm telling you it's true. You say no, I say yes, I win, I'm the judge.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 32-year-old entertainer Karen Russell is suing booking agent Chuck Heinold for non-payment of a performance fee. Heinold says the act wasn't what was promised.
I'm reading your complaint, and I don't see anywhere in your complaint that he said, don't worry, I'll pay you even if it has to come out of my pocket.
Wait. He said, don't worry, I have the balance owed to you and I will come back on April 5th to pay you.
Well, of course, I understand that. He said he had the balance. He did, in fact, have a check, correct? He had a check from the owner of the club. The owner of the club subsequently stopped payment on the check. Is that correct, Mr. Heinold?
That's right, Your Honor. I have the check right here. I have a copy
I'll
of the
take a look at the check. That's not what you said, Miss Russell. What you said to me was he told you that he would pay even if it has to come out of his pocket. That's not true.
Well, that's what
he never said
to
that.
us over the phone.
Just a second.
Okay.
He never said that because that's a very important thing. And if it was true that he said it, it would have been in your complaint.
I have a witness that he did say it. He said it to myself and the partner on the phone conversation Friday night, when I also found out that we were being represented as former Playboy playmates.
Just a second. I'll hear this witness if somebody wants to testify under oath that this man said, don't worry, I'll pay you even if it has to come out of my pocket. Who wants to testify to that? Let me ask you this question. Are you sure you want to testify to that, sir? Are you positive? Stand up here. First, tell me your name.
My name is Juan Llano.
Mr. Llano, I want you to think very carefully, sir. Are you sure that you want to testify that you heard this man say the following words? I will pay you even if it has to come out of my pocket. Did you hear that?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
When I talked to him directly the night before our last two performances.
And you're a member of this group?
Yes, I am. This is my company.
Did you ever say that to them?
No.
Why would he say that to you? You're so full of baloney, you people. Why in the world would your agent tell that to you? When he had a check in his hand from the people who you were working for.
Because I confronted him.
Confronted with what?
I confronted him because I've been in this business for about 15 years, and I know that people write bad checks.
I understand that, but you're suing the wrong person.
We're
Person
suing
who
him
stopped-
for misrepresentation.
What kind of misrepresentation? How...
Former Playboy playmates when we're not.
Who did that? Flyer.
He.
Just a minute. Just a second. Did you print that flyer, Mr. Heinold?
No, ma'am, I did not.
But the casino, when I called the casino, I said, where did you get this information?
Don't tell me what the casino said to you. That's hearsay.
Okay. When I was trying to find out where this came from,
yeah,
the source went back to Chuck Heinold. They got
that's
the
hearsay,
information
madam.
from this.
That's hearsay. That's hearsay. Now, you may have been upset with that, but that's not misrepresentation.
Your Honor.
By him. He did not, unless you can establish to me that he actually printed those flyers and sent them out, that's not misrepresentation.
Your Honor.
What?
He advertised our show as Playboy Girls of Rock, as Playboy. And they were going to see a bunch of beautiful women in bras and panties. That's not our show at all. We have a very classy show. For us to come into the casino and see outside the casino is a huge sign in neon saying Playmates,
Let me ask you this question, sir. Why didn't you leave? If you were unhappy with the promotion, you got there,
We
you
didn't
saw
know about the promotion until after the second show.
The problem was, nipping it in the bud, is they were unhappy because they wanted to see the bras and the women, and we don't have a show like that.
You're wasting my time.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You're wasting my time. You're suing the wrong person.
That's not true. He's
Oh,
responsible.
I'm telling you it's true. You say no, I say yes, I win, I'm the judge.
I know.
You are suing the wrong person.
Judge
he
Judy,
did
what
not
about-
pay. He does not pay you. The club pays you. They cannot, after you work, and you did work for the 4
Yes, we
shows, they cannot give you a check and then stop payment on the check. That's against the law. It's not his check. You don't mind if you don't speak, do you?
No, I'm fine.
Your lawsuit's dismissed. Go sue the right person. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may
Thank
step
you,
out.
Your Honor.
Out the back door to your right, please.
That's
Sir.
ridiculous.
And on the next Judge Judy.
And if you would have not have lied and said, we are Playboy Playmates, the owner came to me specifically and said, well, where's the play? We got people walking up to us thinking we were Playboy. Do I look like a Playboy Playmate? No, and I am not. I have worked so hard in this business to be who I am and to do well.
And I wish you the best
and
of luck.
agents like you who lie and deceive and rip off artists who are just trying to, I worked for
اکثر مجھے میسج آتے ہیں کہ جی اللہ سے دوستی کیسے کرنی ہے, وہ کیسے پتہ چلے گا اللہ ہمارا دوست بن گیا. میں نے کہا اس کی کیا فکر ہے, اللہ تو سبھی کا دوست ہے, وہ تو سب کا ہر کا رب ہے,
ہر کا رب ہے.
اس کی آپ کو کیا پرواہ پڑ گئی, آپ کو کیا پریشانی پڑ, آپ بتائیں آپ اللہ کے دوست بن گئے ہیں کہ نہیں بن گئے. یک طرفہ محبت ہوتی ہے اللہ سے, شروع کر دیں بس. ایک آدمی ابھی یہ ویڈیو دیکھ رہا ہے کہ میں نے اللہ سے دوستی کرنی, ہو گئی دوستی, چھوڑیں اس بات. اللہ سے کہاں سے لیٹر لینا ہے, آپ کریں, آپ شروع کریں, آپ اللہ کو بتائیں یا اللہ میں تیری دوستی کے مزاج میں آیا,
آپ اپنا 100%
میں تیرا دوست بنا. اور سر 100% ہی 10% ہی دیتے ہیں, 100% کہاں نکلتا ہے ہم انسانوں سے. ہم 10% کی سوچتے ہیں تو 1% نکلتا ہے ہم سے.
1% نکلتا ہے.
تو اتنا تو آدمی کرے. تو جب تسبیح کرنی شروع کریں گے, مسلسل کریں گے, تو آپ کو پتہ چلے گا کہ ایک زندگی ہے, اس کو گزارنا ہے, اور اس کے مسائل جو آنے ہیں, جو ہماری سمجھ میں آتا ہے اس کے حساب سے اس کا حل نکالنا ہے, اور ساتھ تسبیح کرنی ہے. جو بندہ طویل عرصہ یعنی کہ 2-3 سال تسبیح کر جاتا ہے نا, اس کی تسبیحات پاورفل ہو جاتی ہیں, گرو کر جاتی ہیں. یہ بات اب میں سمجھا نہیں سکتا, روحانی باتیں میں کرتا نہیں ہوں, لیکن آپ یوں سمجھیں کہ اگر ایک بندہ 3-4 تسبیحات روزانہ کر رہا ہے 3-4 سال سے, تو اس کے ارد گرد پلرز بن گئے ہوں گے نور کے. میری اپنی ایک فیلنگ ہے, اسے ان تسبیحات کا آسرا ہو جاتا ہے.
کئی بلائیں ڈلتی ہیں
سر. جب آپ 8-10 سال اللہ کی دوستی کے مزاج میں رہیں, خطائیں کرتے رہیں, آپ کا دماغ الٹتا رہے, آپ کی ترجیحات آگے پیچھے ہوتی رہیں, آپ پھر پلٹ کے آتے رہیں, کیفیات آپ سے چھین لی جائیں, لیکن آپ اللہ کو یاد ہی کرتے رہیں, تو اتنے عرصے کے بعد 2-3 سال 4 سال 5 سال کے بعد ایک مسلسل کیفیت پیدا ہوتی ہے. آپ شادی شدہ ہیں, آپ کے ذہن میں ایک مسلسل کیفیت ہے
کہ میں
شادی شدہ ہوں, آپ کا بچہ ہے, آپ کے ذہن میں مسلسل ایک کیفیت پیدا کر دی گئی ہے کہ آئی ایم اے فادر. یہ کیفیت ہے, یہ ایک نوئنگ ہے, یہ ایک انڈرسٹینڈنگ ہے, یہ ایک سینس آف انڈرسٹینڈنگ ہے کہ آئی ایم اے فادر. اسی طریقے سے میں اللہ تعالیٰ کے فضل سے تسبیح کرنے والا ہوں,
یہ کیفیت پیدا ہوتی ہے,
یہ ایک انڈرسٹینڈنگ ہے, یہ کیفیت بن جاتی ہے. آپ کو اس پہ مان ہو جاتا ہے, یہ مان آپ کے کام آتا ہے, یہ آپ کے آگے چلتا ہے, آپ کے پیچھے چلتا ہے, آپ کو پروٹیکٹ کرتا ہے. بلائیں تو آتی ہیں نا,
بالکل ایسی
آزمائشیں تو آتی ہیں, ٹراما تو آتا ہے, فیئرس تو آتے ہیں, لیکن جب وہ بلا آپ کی طرف بڑھتی ہے, اور جب آپ سے چھین لیے جاتے ہیں وسائل, اور اسباب سے آپ کو تہی دامن کر دیا جاتا ہے, تو وہ کیفیت سب سے آگے ہو کے کہتی ہے کہ یا اللہ میں تیرا تسبیح کرنے والا ہوں. پھر اللہ آتا ہے, پھر معجزے بھی ہوتے ہیں, پھر ایسے ایسے کام ہونے شروع ہو جاتے ہیں جو آپ نہ کسی کو سمجھا سکیں, نہ کسی کو بتا سکیں. اب بولی جاؤں نا, کیا بتاؤں,
وہ سمجھ میں نہیں آنے والے ہوتے ہیں.
اللہ کر رہا ہوتا ہے, آپ کو پتا تھا یہ کیسے ہو گیا, یہ کیا ہو گیا, وہ کیا ہو گیا, یہ والا کام کیسے ہو گیا, یہ میں پھنسے رہیں گے آپ کام کے اندر. ڈپریشن نہیں آنے دے گا, یا اسلام ہو. اگر میں اس کو کسی طریقے سے نکال سکوں اس بات کو, تو آپ یوں سمجھیے کہ کچھ عرصہ کم از کم 5-6 مہینے سال تسبیح کو دیں. اس کے بعد ایک وقت آپ پہ آئے گا جب آپ کو یہ فیل ہوگا. وہ روحانی باتیں نہیں ہیں, تھرو ایونٹس, تھرو ایویڈنس, تھرو یور مائنڈ, تھرو یور آئیز, تھرو یور پرسیپشن, یو ول سی کہ میں ایک حصار میں ہوں,
عقلی دلیل سے
میں ایک حصار میں ہوں. اور خوف, بغض, کینہ, اناد, دشمنیاں, رنج, بھوک, شیطان ڈراتا ہے نا ان چیزوں سے, یہ آپ کی طرف ان میں سے حادثات بڑھتے ہیں, اور یہ آپ کی طرف آتے ہیں, اور کوئی شے ہے جو ان کی بائٹ سے آپ کو بچاتی ہے. ڈر آپ کو لگے گا, ٹینشن آئے گی, ڈپریشن نہیں آئے گا, آپ کو بے بس نہیں ہونے دے گا اللہ تعالیٰ. اپنی غلطیوں سے ماریں کھائیں گے, کوتاہیوں سے ماریں کھائیں گے, اپنے مزاج سے ماریں کھائیں گے, آپ اپنی طبیعت سے مار کھا لیں گے, اپنے کرتوتوں سے مار کھا لیں گے, نکال لے گا اللہ,
گرنے نہیں دے گا,
گرنے نہیں دے گا. آپ کی گیم نہیں اوور ہونے دے گا. سر تسبیح والا نہیں ہارتا بھائی جان, مار کھاتا ہے, ہارتا نہیں ہے. لوگ ہار جاتے ہیں, خودکشی ہار ہے, پاگل ہو جانا ہار ہے. ہم ڈیپ تھنکرز ہیں, ہم اپنی سوچوں میں ڈوب جاتے ہیں. ایک سوچ آئی اور دوسری سوچ میں لے گئی, اور وہ تیسری سوچ میں لے گئی, ابھی پہلی ختم نہیں ہوئی تو دوسری شروع ہو گئی, 2 اکٹھی شروع ہو گئی تو پھر اس میں سے تیسری نکل آئی. ہم گم ہو جاتے ہیں سوچوں میں. اب ایک آدمی تسبیح کرنے والا ہے, ایک آدمی تسبیح نہیں کرنے والا ہے. اب جو تسبیح نہیں کرنے والا, وہ اللہ اس پر رحم کرے, وہ ڈوب گیا ہوا ہے,
ڈوب گیا اپنی سوچوں میں ہی.
اس کو نکالنے والی کوئی شے ہی نہیں ہے, اینکر ہی نہیں ہے کوئی, وہ کسی شے کو پکڑ کے نیچے گرا ہی نہیں ہے. وہ کیا تھی قرآن پاک کی آیات کہ اس آدمی کی مثال ایسی ہوتی ہے جیسے وہ جنگل میں کھو گیا ہو, اور اس کے دوست اسے کہیں قریب سے ہی پکارتے ہوں, جیسے ابھی گم ہوا ہے, اور وہ چاروں طرف دیکھتا اور اسے سمجھ نہ آتا ہو, آواز کی ڈائریکشن سمجھنا آتی ہو. تو لوگ آج کل کی زندگی میں اس قدر شدید دباؤ ہے کہ لوگ پاگل ہو رہے ہیں, اور ڈپریشن پاگل پور ہے جی. تو ایک بندہ بیٹھا یا اسلام یا اسلام یا اسلام یا اللہ یا رحمان یا رحیم وٹ ایور, وہ اس کے تھاٹ کے ساتھ اس کی زبان کے ذریعے لپٹ کے جا رہی ہے اس کی سوچ کے ساتھ, وہ اس کو ڈیپ ڈرل نہیں کرنے دے گی. ساری رات بول سکتا ہوں اس چیز پہ. ایک سادہ بات بتائی کہ آپ کو ایک خاص حد سے زیادہ ڈیپ تھنکنگ میں نہیں جانے دیتی تسبیح, اگر ہر وقت چل رہی ہے تو. فرمان یاد نہیں ہے آپ صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم نے جو جاری کیا کہ گنے ہوئے سانس ہیں, اور ہر وہ سانس زندہ ہے, مفہوم اس کا یہ ہے جو اللہ کی یاد میں ہے, اور جو اللہ کی یاد میں نہیں ہے وہ سانس مردہ ہے, مرا ہوا ہے سانس, زندہ ہی نہیں ہے. تو شروع میں جب آدمی کہتا ہے اتنا کیسے اللہ کو یاد کروں گا, وہ سر ایک تسبیح سے شروع کر لیں, 2 4 سے بڑھتی ہے, پھر چاکے کھل دے نا سر. جب بندے کو سمجھ آ جائے نا, یہ وہ سیکرٹس ہیں جو ایکسپیرینشل پروسیس میں سے گزرے بغیر آپ کو سمجھ نہیں آ سکتا. تسبیح کرنے والے کا ٹائم نہیں ضائع ہو سکتا. بیٹھ گئے ٹرین پہ, ٹرین کے انتظار میں بیٹھ گئے, اسٹیشن پہ بیٹھے ہوئے, ٹرین آئے گی 2 گھنٹے بعد, پاکستان ہے, کسی ٹائم بھی آ سکتی ہے, دل کرے آ جائے, نہ دل کرے نہ آئے, آپ کیا کر لیں گے, کیا اکھاڑ لیں گے. اب ایک بندے کی چل رہی تسبیح, اسے پتا ہے میں نے اپنی 50 تسبیحوں میں سے پوری کرنی, اس کی تو لاٹری لگ گئی ہے,
ٹائم مل گیا اسے,
ٹائم ملا, دماغ نہیں سوچنا نا, وہ دوسرے کا بھی سوچی جا رہا ہے, اس کا بھی سوچی جا رہا ہے, وہ اپنی تسبیح کر رہا ہے. وہ بندہ کہاں کھڑا ہے اور تسبیح کے بغیر والا کہاں کھڑا ہے. تسبیح کے بغیر والے کا ٹائم جل رہا ہے, اس کے وقت کو آگ لگی ہوئی ہے. یہ ہمارے وقت کی مثال تو ایسی ہے کہ جیسے ایک بمب ہے اور اس کے فیتا لگا ہوا ہے اور اس کو آگ لگی ہے, وہ پھٹنے والا ہی ہے. ایسے ہی ہے نا ہمارا وقت,
بالکل.
اب ایک تسبیح والا ہے, اس کا ٹائم کہاں پہ ویسٹ ہو رہا ہے,
کہیں پہ بھی نہیں, وہ تو تسبیح کر رہا ہے,
وہ تسبیح کر رہا ہے. تسبیح سے زیادہ وقت کہاں لگایا جائے بھائی. تسبیح سے زیادہ کام کون سا ہے, اللہ کے ذکر سے زیادہ کام کون سا ہے کرنے والا,
کوئی کام
وہ سب سے ضروری کام کر رہا ہے, اور اس ضروری کام کے اندر وہ اپنے سارے کام کر سکتا ہے. نہ وضو کی قید ہے, نہ سوچ کی قید ہے, نہ آنکھوں کی قید ہے, نہ کمروں میں بیٹھنے کی قید ہے, نہ مسجدوں میں جانے کی, آزاد ہو گئے آپ. عبادت جاری ہوگی آپ کی, عبادت آپ کی چل گئی. سر فرشتوں کی عبادت دے دی انسان کو, اور کیا چاہیے تھا. نہ ملتی نا تسبیح, ذکر اللہ کا نام ملتا تو میں دیکھتا وضو کیے بغیر, پاک ہوئے بغیر اللہ کا نام لینے کی ہمت کس میں ہے. ہم ناپاک ہیں, اس لیے ہمیں پاک ہونا پڑتا ہے. یہ ہماری بیسکس ہیں, آرگینزم ہے, باڈی ہے, تقاضے ہیں, کچھ نہیں کیا جا سکتا. اور کوئی ایک طرح کی ناپاکی ہے ہمارے اندر, زبان کی, آنکھ کی, کان کی, جسم کی, پتہ نہیں ذہن کی, سوچ کی, دل کی, پتہ نہیں کیا ہزار طرح کی تو ناپاکیاں ہمیں لپیٹ کے رکھتی ہیں. تو اللہ نے رحم کیا, پتہ تھا کہ کس جیل میں پھینکنے لگاؤں اس کو, تو کہا کہ کچھ نہیں, تو بس تو فری ہے, یاد کر. اور لوگ نہیں کر رہے, اور میں حیران ہو جاتا ہوں کہ لوگ نہیں کر رہے. اس لیے جس نے اللہ کو پہچاننا ہے, جس نے اپنے آپ کو پہچاننا ہے, جس نے تصوف کو جاننا ہے, روحانیت میں جاننا ہے, بھاڑ میں جائیں, جس بھی چیز میں جانا ہے, تسبیح پکڑ لے. پہلے اللہ کا نام آیا, اسلام کا نام آیا, اللہ کی محبت کا نام آیا, اور اگر تسبیح نہ آئی تو کچھ بھی نہیں آیا, کچھ بھی نہیں آیا. سر یہ سرنڈر ہے. اس تسبیح کے علاوہ جتنی بھی آپ اس کا معجزہ دیکھیں کہ صرف سوچنے کی بات ہے, آبزرو کریں گے تو سارا کچھ نظر آنا شروع ہو جائے گا. اس تسبیح کے سوا جتنی بھی ریپیٹیشن ہے ہماری لائف میں, ہیبٹ فارمنگ ہے, وہ ہم ریپیٹ کرنا چاہ رہے ہیں, ہم کسی بھی چیز کو دہراتے ہیں, ہمیں عادت ہو جاتی ہے, وہ ساری ہمارے مائنڈ کو ڈل کرتی ہے جناب. تسبیح نہیں کرتی آپ کے مائنڈ کو ڈل. تو قصہ مختصر, بہت لمبی ہوگی ویڈیو. میں تسبیح کے اوپر ڈیمانڈ بھی بہت زیادہ تھی ویڈیو کی, اور میں ابھی بھی بولنا چاہ رہا ہوں مزید تسبیح کے اوپر, لیکن بات وہی ہے کہ پھر ریکمینڈڈ نہیں ہوتا اتنا زیادہ, لوگ ڈائجسٹ بھی نہیں کر سکتے. جو تسبیح کرے گا اس کو ڈپریشن نہیں آئے گا. واپس موضوع کو میں جہاں سے ٹوٹا تھا وہیں سے جوڑتا ہوں کہ ڈپریشن نہیں آئے گا, ٹینشن آئے گی, انگزائٹیوں میں رہ لے گا, ڈپریشن میں نہیں جائے گا, یعنی کہ پاگل نہیں ہوگا. اللہ آپ کو ہارنے نہیں دے گا, آپ کی عقل کو معاف نہیں ہونے دے گا, زائل نہیں ہونے دے گا, آپ کی عقل کو سلب نہیں کرے گا. وہ ہو جاتا ہے نا بوڑھے بابے 4 پہ لیٹے تھے, وہ نہیں ہونے دے گا آپ کو. اس سے زیادہ کھل کے کیا بتائیں. آپ گزرتے جائیں گے اور آپ نکلتے چلے جائیں گے. زندگی کی دوڑ سے شیطانوں کے ہاتھوں میں اچک نہیں لیا جائے گا, سیکیور رکھا جائے گا. ہاں باقی کام کرنا پڑے گا اپنے نفس کے اوپر. اگر پرائرٹیز ڈیفائن نہیں کرتا, اگر اپنے آپ کو ٹھیک کرنے کی کوشش جاری نہیں ہے, اپنی سی کوشش جو مقدور بھر اللہ تعالیٰ نے اس کو توفیق عطا فرمائی ہے, اس کے حساب سے اگر کوتاہی کرے گا تو پنشمنٹ تو آئے گی. وہ تو سسٹم ہے دنیا کا, ایکشن کا ری ایکشن ہے. اللہ کے فطرت میں, اللہ کے کلمات میں تو تبدیلی ہے ہی نہیں ہے. دنیا تو رولز پہ چلتی ہے نا, وہ آئے گی. لیکن ایک راز یہ ہے کہ بچا لیا جائے گا,
بچا لیا جائے گا.
لیکن یہ اچھی خبر نہیں ہے, مار بہت پڑ جائے گی اس سارے چکر میں,
ٹائم بھی لگ جائے گا.
ٹائم بھی لگ جائے گا. تو کیا ہے, محنت تو کرنی چاہیے, تسبیح کے ساتھ محنت کو زیادہ کر دینا چاہیے. ایک آدمی یہ سمجھتا ہے کہ اس نے اگر دن میں 50 تسبیحیں شروع کر دی ہیں تو یہ روحانیت ہے, یہ کچھ بھی نہیں ہے. اللہ کو یاد کر رہا ہے, محبت کر رہا ہے, روحانیت تصوف کہاں سے آ گیا اس میں؟ تزکیہ تو کرنا پڑے گا, نفس کے اوپر تو کام کرنا ہی پڑے گا, علم حاصل کرنا پڑے گا, اپنی پہچان کرنی پڑے گی, دھکے کھانے پڑیں گے, رونا پڑے گا, غور کرنا پڑے گا, ساتھ میں تسبیح چلے گی.
بالکل.
پھر تسبیح جاتی ہے ضربیں کھاتی ہوئی, پھر وہ کچھ آتا ہے جس کے اوپر ہم بات نہیں کرتے. بہرحال جتنی جس سے ہو سکے اتنی تسبیح کرنی چاہیے. آپ یقین کریں کہ میرا رکنے کو دل نہیں چاہ رہا. مسئلہ یہ ہے کہ وہ پھر بات آ جاتی ہے, اس لیے اس بات کو یہیں پہ ختم کرتے ہیں. کبھی اللہ تعالیٰ نے توفیق دی, فلو اصل میں نہیں آتا دوبارہ.
اچھا, آپ کوئی تسبیح ریکمینڈ کرتے ہیں کہ لوگوں کو کون سی تسبیح کرنی چاہیے؟
نہیں, وہی بات آ گئی نا, میرے استاد کے پاس تو علم الاسماء ہے, نیورولوجی بھی ہے, علم الاداد وغیرہ کافی کچھ ہے, جو بھی اظہار ہے وہ علم کے درجات ہیں. جب اللہ تعالیٰ نے فرمایا کہ تم میں سے ہر ایک کے اللہ کے ہاں درجات علم کے ساتھ ہیں, تو وہ میرے استاد ہیں. مجھے تو ایسا کوئی علم نہیں ہے کہ تسبیح کیسے دیتے ہیں, میں خود کرتا ہوں. جو مجھ سے پوچھتا ہے, جو میں کر رہا ہوتا ہوں, انہیں میں سے مجھے کوئی سمجھ آتی تو میں بتا دیتا ہوں. اور میری اللہ سے دعا بھی یہی ہوتی ہے کہ جو کہ میں کر رہا ہوں اس کی برکت ساتھ چلی جائے اس بندے کو. تو اللہ تعالیٰ نے گمان تو جھوٹا نہیں اللہ کرے گا انشاءاللہ اپنے بارے میں. تو یہ تو میں بار بار کہہ رہا ہوں, استاد ملتا ہے اچھی بات ہے. ابھی ویڈیو میں کل کرواؤں گا آپ کو استاد کی پہچان کے حوالے سے, پہلے بھی ایک کی تھی. نہیں ملتا, رابطہ نہیں ہو رہا, مل نہیں رہا, سمجھ نہیں آ رہی, بھی جو اللہ کا کلام ہے اچھا لگتا ہے شروع کرنا ہے, اس میں کون سے حرج والی بات ہے؟
مطلب جو جس کو اچھی لگتی ہے تسبیح یا اللہ کا نام جو اچھا لگتا ہے وہ اسے کرے, تسبیح اپنا لے, اسے
اپنا لے, اسے شروع کر دے. تو اللہ تعالیٰ برکت بھی عطا فرمائے گا, علم بھی عطا فرمائے گا, اور سمجھ بھی عطا فرمائے گا. پھر آہستہ آہستہ خوب دکھائی دے گا اور پھر خوب سمجھ میں آنے لگ جائے گا.